Greetings, sentient beings. This broadcast is not intended for children. There will be strong language and adult themes. So, sorry I'm running late, everybody. I don't know why my alarm didn't go off, so sorry I'm running late, everybody. I just kind of had lost track of time there.
It's all right. That's all right. I was rocking out to YouTube, listening to music, basically reliving the 90s. Do you know that's the one thing that brought me to YouTube in general was music
Uh,
because it had all the old stuff from MTV on there. But now it's all been copywritten and taken off.
the main thing that brought me to YouTube was looking for episodes of cartoons I remembered from the 80s.
You
Mostly
know,
trying to find some episodes of the original Transformers.
I didn't watch television throughout my entire 20s. So YouTube was brand new to me when I found it, you know. So it was pretty amazing at first. Now I'm jaded like everybody else, you know, but when I found YouTube, it was actually quite revolutionary. Because if you think about it, someone like me who's into old TV shows, if if it's from between 1959 and like 1976 or something like that, it's probably on YouTube if you really look for it.
Yeah. Well, I didn't really I didn't watch YouTube at all until I was stuck living in that little town in Michigan. And the first 2 years I was up there, I was living in a trailer on my mom's property, and absolutely, no TV signal there at all.
Mm.
So I would go into town and download a bunch of stuff that I could watch in the evenings because there was nothing else out there. 5 miles outside of the small town
Oh
and no
wow.
TV. Yeah, it gets pretty boring. So had to find some things I could watch on my computer at night.
Not having a television, that's when I got into the Star Trek books and became obsessed, like obsessively reading all the Star Trek books because they're well written.
Mhm.
I kind of miss not having a television. I got a lot more done when I wasn't jacked in, so to speak.
Yeah, well, technically, I haven't had a TV since about 2014.
You're not missing much, I'll tell you. It's the same old dribble. And
Yeah,
excuse me. If they hadn't privatized sports, I after I don't know how many years this house having a landline, I finally got rid of my landline and
yeah.
I'm thinking about finally cutting the cord with my cable.
Well, let's say technically because I've had streaming services available like Netflix. Now we canceled Netflix, but Sloth Girl's got Disney Plus and Amazon Prime. Yeah, and she's got the BritBox through Amazon Prime, so I can get a lot of the old BBC stuff.
And if you have the bundle, then you get ESPN and you get uh Paramount Plus, which is what I've been obsessively watching
Yeah.
lately.
Well, and even Sloth Girl finally, they were going to up the cable rates on her by another 20, 25 bucks a month. And she finally said, forget it. We're not going to pay for this. So she disconnected the cable and just has the streaming services. And it's like, yeah, she was thinking about that for a while about, how much do you really watch? And yeah,
Oh yeah, dog. I've been watching the new season of Picard. I said this last week when Q slapped Picard, it was like someone slapped my grandmother in front of me. I felt it, and I had my feelings were actually hurt. But that's what television is supposed to do to you. Like you're supposed to escape yourself and like feel something, you know. So
yeah,
it's
dog. I sent you a link on Twitter if you want to join us in here.
so that's a beautiful thing when a show grabs you because I'm actually like really jaded. New age television is every episode is like a movie and they don't tell stories anymore. And so for as much as I love Star Trek and I love Discovery, I watched the season finale of Discovery today and it was amazing, but it's it reminds me of the in the 90s I was into like shoot 'em up Japanese movies. And it reminds me of that, where every scene someone's jumping out of something, shooting at somebody. It's high anxiety and high drama,
Well, the things that have annoyed me most about TV series are if they do the reset button at every episode, so like nothing that happens ever affects the characters. So that pisses me off. But on the other hand, the thing is that if they're not going to do that, they've got to make sure they maintain, the internal consistency.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'll get rid of that. That's why I love Stargate so much because, it's like in season 6, they find out they can fix this problem with a piece of alien technology they got in season 3.
I will say this, but I'm biased. Like, I'm biased. Stargate SG-1 is the greatest sci-fi show that was ever made. Changed my mind. I have all the DVDs. I have an RDA poster. I have Richard Dean Anderson next to my washer of the episode when they met the Ashin and they didn't know the Ashin were evil. Like, I stand for SG-1. So, yeah, SG-1 was an amazing show.
Yeah, I do think it's definitely the best written show in a very long time.
And like you said, their continuity, they did not mess around. Like, and in I'm a bit of a geek. In season 9, Teal'c references undomesticated equinines could not carry me away. Like, and he said that in season 1 because he was talking about the Rolling Stones.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that show. Even when they brought in the space Catholics, they continued to be Stargate.
Sorry about that, dog. Sent you the right link now. Now I gotta wonder who else I may have sent the wrong link to.
But like I said, I'm biased to SG-1 because that was like in my developing years when I was coming to age, like that was my show. And Deep Space Nine as well. Deep Space Nine was like, that was my show.
Well, and SG-1 literally was a good family program. I started watching that with our 12-year-old.
Hey dog, how's it going?
Hi guys.
When part of our, my father was really big on family, like sit down at the table, look me in the eye kind of thing, and we would all watch television together, and we watched Star Trek together because it was a family show, and we watched Stargate SG-1 together as well. Those were family friendly shows for sure. Sorry, I grew up in a functioning house. Those were good memories.
I couldn't get into Stargate after the movie.
Things. Sorry, go ahead, Doug.
I was saying I couldn't get into Stargate after the movie.
Richard Dean Anderson. Did you ever watch MacGyver? Was MacGyver on in your country?
Yeah.
I stand for MacGyver. I watched MacGyver, so when I heard Richard Dean Anderson was going to be in MacGyver, I was a kid, so I was easily entertained.
I used to like all the old cop shows when I was a kid, all the American ones, Streets of San Francisco.
Awesome.
Starsky and Hutch, Kojak, Hill Street Blues. All of them.
Hill Street Blues was kind of depressing.
That's New York, isn't it?
Yeah, and that shit. Did you ever watch In the Heat of the Night?
It came here, but I never got round to watching it. I was out. I was a bit older then. I'm getting out and about with friends and that, and doing.
It was more of the dynamic in the South, and after a while, I don't know if they want to maintain the status quo, so they put shows like that out, or they're trying to explain what's going on.
Well, yeah, Walker Texas Ranger and things like that.
You know, Chuck Norris is one of those people where you laugh at him, but he could kick your butt. Like if you ran up on Chuck Norris, he would kick you in your throat.
He's never going to die, is he?
You know, I saw footage of in South, I believe it was South Africa. This man did a double ninja kick to Arnold Schwarzenegger. And, you know, he was the governor of my state. I think he's a clown. But regardless of what you think of the man, he is the wall of a human being. And he barely budged when the guy kicked him. Like, he barely moved. That would have broke my shoulder. If a grown man kicked me in on my side, it would have, like, broke my shoulder, you know?
I always like that. Always laugh at that. The last line in the film Dodgeball from Ben Stiller. Fucking Chuck Norris. Because Chuck Norris made, well, you need to know, you need to watch that Dodgeball.
Oh, I've seen that movie. You know, I recently saw a picture of Steven Seagal at a Taekwondo competition or whatever. He's another human being. He's a big guy. He has a belly, but he would put someone down in 2 moves.
He's a cop now, isn't he?
You know, my pops was like that. He at 70 years old. We were at the local college. My mom was putting on a presentation at the college. I was with my ex-wife and my son. He was literally in my arms. This was a while ago. My dad stole some guy's parking space, and he got out of his car. And I gave my son to my ex-wife. I was like, oh, this guy's gonna try to fight my dad. At 70 years old, I watched my dad knock out like a 20-year-old kid. Some people like those you know, those nom guys, some, you know, people just don't lose it when they have a certain skill, you know.
Well, you see it all over YouTube, don't you? You know, amateurs take on fake masters and things like that, kung fu masters and whatnot.
Exactly. Skis Crashers seen the video when that man kicked Arnold Schwarzenegger. It was unreal. Like that would have knocked me out. And I'm over 200 pounds, and that would have hurt. You know, for as much as I think he's a scumbag, he's well built.
Well, I'm sure he's not short with you, Bob, either.
No, of course not. People like that. My grandfather was like that. He worked out until he couldn't anymore. He was obsessed with sports, and so until the day he died, he worked out. Well, until he got Parkinson's, so he couldn't move after a while. But literally until the day he couldn't walk anymore, he'd walk every day.
Well, it'd be that sort of body tone and becomes an addiction, doesn't it? It's which is heavily fed, obviously, on steroids. There was that guy in Australia who couldn't. His arm biceps were so big, he couldn't even touch his penis.
I watched a video like that with Isaiah, and I had to walk out of the room. I couldn't take it of how can you walk around like, oh, it's just weird. That's just weird.
Yeah, but his upper arms were so big, he couldn't even touch his penis. He couldn't get his hands in to touch his penis.
To me, that's the same thing as being so overweight that you can't touch yourself.
Well, they think they have anorexia. Big people like that, because they look in the mirror and think they're fat, and so do anorexics.
So where I'm from, we call that, like, I agree with you, but also I think they have body dysmorphia as well. Because no matter
that's one of it, and big bones.
Like no matter what
your belly bones hanging down by your knees.
Oh yeah, I think they do have anyone who keeps going like that, and especially if they keep pumping the drugs, that they're not seeing themselves as they really are.
No way.
Well, I think the same guy who couldn't touch his penis, I think his muscles exploded. I think they just they just gave up. They just got so big that they I don't mean like but they exploded from his skin.
So I live in Los Angeles, and it's not rare to see a woman walking around with size F breasts. I mean, like, you know, the really big, huge, porny ones, you know. At what point do those hurt or pop? I always like look at someone like that and I'm like, man, your back just must hurt.
Yeah, long before that, I mean,
if one of them pops, Will, he can always borrow you to smuggle in the other side of the of the shirt.
Oh,
even women that are a
I'll
natural D
volunteer to do
complain
that.
about.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
You know, just women who are a natural D complain about it. You know, complain about the weight. Actually, one of my cousins, she was born with a triple D. Well, not, you know, developed triple D when she was like in her 20s, and she had to get them reduced because it was destroying her back.
That's what I'm saying. That's just and so it's not rare to see people, but like plastic surgery addiction is real around here. People look like cats. People look like I don't know if body modifications are necessarily legal here. Arizona was one of the only places I knew where you can get like horns. I'm gonna ask Slim next time I talk to him. I talk to him because I have so many questions. Because back in my day, Arizona was the only place where you could get real body modifications because LA outlawed it. But until I started traveling, I was extremely West Coast, so it could be other states. You know, we're so shattered. We have, you know, each state has extremely different laws.
Yeah, I've never got that.
Where I live, it's like, okay, in the next state over, in Arizona or even Nevada, you can walk around with a 6-shooter on your hip like a cowboy. You know, you could hide it if you want to.
Hello, Rex.
Howdy. I need to apologize to you and the chat and everybody. I don't know why I have just completely spaced out the start time of your show for 3 weeks now, but I have, and I apologize.
Yeah, well, that's okay. For some reason, my alarm didn't go off, and I was starting a half an hour late tonight.
Oh yeah, I see 17 minutes. Well, then I'm not that bad, but still, I don't like being late, so I'm sorry.
Hi. So
Hi.
Skid Scratcher, I can't say your name properly, sorry. You know, before I go on, I wasn't gonna smoke a Moon Rocks joint, and then Purple, she didn't start on time, so I got bored, and 27 minutes after, you know, into it, I smoked a Moon Rocks joint. So I'm already in outer space right now.
That's okay.
But in LA, we outlawed certain types of body modifications just because people were getting like backdoor cement put in their head. So if people start getting hurt where I live, they outlaw it across the board.
Well, I know America's fucked because I've been on Twitter talking with I put it in the chat earlier, talking with a 2024 presidential candidate. It's either Jaha or Yaha Hughes, who agreed with some cryptocurrency random guy that that the restrictions put on children in schools and whatnot is early government indoctrination of control.
Do you know, I've stayed
I was saying, like, well, kids are a lot of kids are asymptomatic, but it doesn't mean they haven't got it and they can't spread it. I told them the White House isn't for you, mate.
Our kids were mega spreaders in this town.
There's the Petri dishes.
There's direct correlation in certain football games and outbreaks in my entire town because high school football is still means something around here.
I never used to get ill until I had children, and they still never used to get ill. But as soon as they were old enough to go to school, then the first week, Me and the wife were both ill. We were coming out of both. I was sick both ends. You know where it was coming or going. It was terrible. They just brought everything home. Head lice, you'd be all right with that, Will. You wouldn't get any of that.
Well, children on petri dishes.
They
Yeah,
absolutely
they
are.
bring every stomach bug and terrible.
Do you know, sometimes I often wonder what my son thinks about me because I'm always like, wash your hands. Did you wash your hands? When's the last time did you? You know, I say if you can't remember the last time you washed your hands, you need to go wash your hands.
Yeah, I think if the government was actually at all concerned about the public health, they wouldn't have opened the schools again until all the kids had been vaccinated. And it's already a requirement. Well, it's already a requirement that to start kindergarten, you know, you need like 6 or 8 vaccines.
9.
Well, there isn't any reason they couldn't, you know, add one more to that list for everyone.
Where I live, you need all of them at a certain age. You know, we have.
Well, I don't remember how many it is now, but you know, I started kindergarten in 1969, and even then, I wasn't allowed to go until I had a whole bunch of vaccines.
Mm-hmm.
Marjorie Taylor Greene said today in a talk that they were talking about COVID, of course, and CDC recommendations for 1 shot or 2 shots or blah blah blah. And she said that made the grand statement. Well, you know, the CDC never made any requirements for more than 1 polio shot. Except that the truth is that there's a 2-month, a 4-month, a 6-month, and a 4 to 6 year injection requirement for polio.
She's such an. I have to look up what video I watched earlier. I was literally like uncontrollably laughing because they were just saying, "No, she's an idiot." And let me tell you why. I'll go look in a minute.
Well,
I watched a great video.
She's been bitching about because they put a mask mandate in Congress that she's been paying her entire salary for violating the mandate. You know, and well, she's been fighting this in court, and a federal district judge basically laughed in her face about it.
Because she doesn't understand basic things.
Yep.
That's just a lack of education. Let's face it, America is a good idea gone bad.
You know, earlier today I was thinking, how can a person like Marjorie, whatever her name is, because I always say it backwards, how can she get elected? That means that her constituents, they elected her head idiot. You know, because where I'm from, that's literally what we call our politicians.
To be fair, I think it's entirely possible that the voters of that area just really had no clue how stupid the woman is. During a campaign's not that long, and with proper speech writers and handlers, I could see how they could get her by, slip her through as a reasonably intelligent person. Actually, which all went south as soon as she started opening her mouth without handlers. You know, it's so I don't blame them. If they should elect her a second time, then I blame them.
Okay, but Jenny,
I believe she got elected because she was running unopposed.
Okay, but if I walked on campus at my job and was like Jewish space lasers started forest fires, I would get I would get fired. They'd hand me my pink slip, like, get out of here.
But okay, I think the thing is that since she ran unopposed, they basically could keep her locked in a closet. She wouldn't have had to make any public appearances. You know, just most people were checking whether it was Democrat or Republican. So she was running unopposed in a Republican district. That's all.
Well, we know her in the UK as the blonde idiot in the White House.
Oh,
Congress. And Boba, we know as she's a brunette idiot in Congress.
Well, Boba is scary because she owns an AR-15, so she's super scary, and she's been arrested more times than Mike Tyson. She's been arrested more times than you know. Pick a rapper, pick your favorite gangster. Like, she's been arrested 3 or 4 times.
Well, I think, you know, yes, an AR-15 is absolutely scary, but I think for Marjorie Babes, for her to unload her opinion without any legitimate information behind it, and for it to be so totally wrong and so totally bigoted.
But how come
You
no
know, and I'm
one?
thinking largely of LGBT issues and that sort of thing. I think that's highly, highly dangerous because that's going to
Okay,
it's going to
again,
create bigotry against an entire class of
Yeah.
people.
I agree
Yeah,
with
the
you.
bullshit she spouts is getting people killed.
But why is no one stopping her? Again, if I walked on campus at my job spouting crap, like I don't know. And I'm trying to I just don't understand the us and them, how people like
Yeah.
her can get away with that because I couldn't in my everyday life and I have a great job.
Have you ever been on that QAnon website?
No, I stay away from those people. I try
You
not.
should you
I
should go on there and just read some of the conspiracies on there. It's as if they're just laughing at us. It's just like
Yeah.
5 or 6 stone drunk guys in a bedroom just saying, "Oh, let's just say aliens came and did this or whatever," and just make shit up and just sit. And that's all I can see that site as. But these people believe it
Yeah.
and they
I
follow it, and
I
it,
Marjorie
it's like
gets
believing in
away.
God, isn't it, Jenny? If you
Marjorie
Jenny
gets
agree with
away
me.
with what she gets away with because she's coming from a party that is perfectly comfortable endorsing Putin.
Mhm.
These people have complete lack of critical thinking. They take their orders from above and go at them absolutely blind loyalty, and they have no interest in accuracy or preserving
Yep.
democracy or understanding what patriotism really is.
Okay, that's another thing, Jenny. That's a great point. How come no one's gone Eisenhower on these people who were a year and a half ago or 2 years ago saying, Putin's the greatest guy on earth. Well, look at him now.
Well,
Well, they're
you do
still
have
saying it.
people like that. You have Liz Cheney and you have
Yeah.
Mitt Romney who are
Yeah.
saying things, and they get completely ignored, marginalized.
Yeah. Well, Congress is supposed to police their own. But, being a two-party system and so divided now, that's completely gone out the window because, the Republicans will never vote to sanction anyone from their own party.
We used to have adults that were running things. I read a book about Gerard. He was the ambassador to Germany during World War I, and they let him stay there damn near through the entire war, even though they were going to war against America.
Yep.
Hey, Lisa for Truth. People
Oh, hey,
just
Lisa.
they just had a different. They were just much more mature, is what I'm trying to say. I just don't get these people anymore at all. Like I act a certain way online. I have a great time in my videos. Let me tell you how I don't act at my job. Like an idiot, So I just don't get it.
Well, that's why it's down to us, the little people, to challenge them.
We used to have standards for our leaders. We used to have like, hey, if we give you this power, you can't act like a clown at least.
Well, it sounds like they don't even need an education now. No,
No.
I'll be in agreement with everyone that all politicians lie.
Oh, of
They have
course.
to, because if we knew what actually goes on in behind them closed doors,
Lauren
we'd
Boebert.
probably be shocked.
Yep. As far as an education, Lauren Boebert never finished high school. She completed a GED while she was running for office.
Oh, Lisa, you should jump in. That's another thing. There's nothing wrong with getting a GED. There's nothing wrong with getting your high school equivalency. You wouldn't qualify for my job.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with a GED, but I'm like, she wasn't even going to go that far until she was running for office, and one of her handlers said, you'd better have something there.
We have higher standards for people who work with special needs people in general than we do with our politicians. Because I would never hire Marjorie
Judging by
Taylor Greene.
Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert, I think we have higher standards for people working fast food.
Yeah.
Well, the national fantasy is that this is a grassroots country, and that our leaders come from the bottom, that
Yeah.
they're everyman, and that they have just as much ability to run the government as somebody who's been there 20 years. And that may be true back in the early 1800s,
In the late
because
18
things were so simple then.
exactly. In the
But
late
it's far too complex for an average intelligence, uneducated person.
Well, this is it. Even in the 1800s, every industry, you need some sort of qualification to even bother embarking on it. It's like me going for a job as an airline pilot. So, have you ever flown a plane before? No. We'll take that plane to Spain and then learn on the way.
yeah,
You
but
can't.
Yeah.
You need some sort of, nearly every politician in other secular countries have got some sort of degree in politics. They've learnt the trade because they're dealing with people's lives. But in America, it's more about money. And even in Britain, we've got some greedy bastard politicians that go into politics because when they leave politics, they make more money speaking at dinner parties and things like that.
look at Bill
And-
Clinton. Bill Clinton
Yeah.
went to every black neighborhood in America and sold his book. He put his office in Harlem after he was president because he knew his audience.
Well, this is it, because at
And
the
he
end
made
of the day,
millions, and he made millions and millions of dollars.
every politician, especially in America, have got their fingers in some industry's pies, as a chair on their board or whatever like that. And the same will go with Bolbert. She's probably on the NRA board or something like that, because she's fucking mad enough.
Well, the NRA fell out with the righties because they kind of capitulated in a couple court cases. So because my son watches a lot of right-wing stuff, the righties are actually anti-NRA right now. So, and the NRA is kind of hurting because their own people are like, you're not hardcore enough.
Yep.
This is what we're doing. We're putting people, uneducated people, in charge of lives. We're not talking like a couple of lives. We're talking thousands and thousands of lives, millions of lives. And this is that's a red flag for me. I'm sorry, but it is.
There are a few politicians, though, that there are a few exceptions to the rule. The only living one I can think of offhand is Jimmy Carter. That since he got out of office, he's been building houses for humanity.
He came
Commander 401. The person who bites the head off of chickens is officially known as a geek. That's where the word comes from.
Oh, well, and on behalf of all geeks, we're offended. And I've seen that done in TJ. I almost Ralphed in real life. I saw that in Tijuana.
But to answer TERFs, you can say that about in priests even. There is actually priests that are not in it for the money. Like the manipulators of scripture, they're actually in it because they believe in God and they care about people and they want to help people, and
you
want to help people who does believe. But a lot of it, especially in America, with your Robert Tiltons and your Kenneth Copelands and whatnot, who manipulate scripture and treat people like shit.
Well,
what's the musician's What's the musician's name? Always wears blacks. His wife is a redhead. She was on that TV show for a long time. He bites the heads off of bats on stage. Ozzy. Yeah. Ozzy.
Oh yeah.
I've seen Ozzy like, I don't know, 16 times, 15 times since the time I was 11 years old until his last show. I love Ozzy Osbourne. Ozfest was an invention of his wife, and they made so much money in America. It's not even funny.
Oh, that
Every
show of his was brilliant.
Oh, they'd have a
Both ones.
festival every year. I most of the bands that I've seen were at Ozfest if I didn't go to an individual show, because Ozzy would put on real festivals. Like, you'd walk in and it was a real festival, like a real people, like sideshows and everything. Ozfest was awesome.
I'm not a fan of many of his behaviors on stage and things, but I really like him as an individual. He's funny. He actually has some pretty good insights about things. He's a complete burnout, but
I was about
Yeah.
to say he's my burnout hero. Are you kidding me? When I have my moments, I'm like, at least I can grow up and be like Ozzy.
I agree with Jenny. You know, what he does is just not my type of music, so I don't listen to it. But yeah, he seems like a real person.
I got Isaiah into Ozzy. Isaiah one day, he's like, yeah, I got into this Judas Priest guy, and I'm like, yeah, I like that guy. Listen to Judas Priest. I love that style of music. But Ozzy's a genius. He made so much. Him and Sharon Osbourne made so much money in America. It's not even funny. They reinvented the American festival. They
Oh yeah, he
basically,
clearly has a very good head for business.
it's his wife. She's behind
Oh,
all
is
of
she
it.
the organizer of all that?
Ozzy's a
Sharon
burnout.
is brilliant.
Oh, she's a genius. I honestly, like, people talk shit about someone like Kim Kardashian. I'm taking notes because Kim Kardashian's from where I'm from. So I'm like taking notes because Kim Kardashian's like a real life billionaire. Like,
Yeah, but she's only a billionaire for her father.
I agree. And if I ever will be,
Because
I'll be in the same boat.
He got
The Kardashians did not achieve what they achieved alone. They had
their
advisors
father,
up the yin yang that got them to that point.
I agree
their
with
father
you.
Well,
who died
yeah.
after he fucking smuggled O.J. Simpson's bag with the
They
evidence
got
in
promoted
out of the
so
fucking-
heavily to have their own TV show.
Yeah,
They were quite literally the first people to get rich for doing nothing. They were
Yeah,
famous for being famous.
it's clever.
Actually, no,
It's
I'm
PewDiePie
sorry.
on YouTube, isn't
That's
it?
kind of an insult. I'm sorry. Paris Hilton was the first. Is the
Yeah.
Kardashians took it to outer space.
Yep.
Paris Hilton was the first.
And they all
I
have to
have
have
to
a sex tape.
admire Khloe Kardashian because she did really start a cosmetics company from the absolute ground zero with one or two products and built it into $1 billion industry. She earned every piece of money she got.
That's what I'm saying, though. Like I take notes on people like that. And she did say something. Oh, Lisa, I think Lisa is looking for the link, perps.
Oh, I DM'd one on Twitter there.
And you know what? I know Kim Kardashian recently said something stupid, and somebody who's from the burbs, sometimes I say things that are idiotic because I come from a place of privilege. Like, I know I grew up in a better neighborhood. I know that I'm lucky basically compared to the average person, you know? People like Kim Kardashian forget. She forgets her place sometimes, you know?
I feel sorry for her mother. She didn't marry well, did she? Both times.
Oof. Well, the first time, no, she loved what's his face, but you know, Bruce. Or I'm sorry. Caitlyn
Caitlyn
Jenner.
Jenner. You just name dropped, mate. That's not good.
So I've been watching a lot of TERF stuff lately.
And since we brought up her name, I'd just like to mention that Caitlyn Jenner represents the trans community absolutely zero. There is nothing she says, does, or is that represents the trans community. She's completely an outlier.
She's anti LGBTQI plus, and this reminds me,
Yeah.
Leah Thomas won today, the NCAA relay champion or something, whatever my phone told me, and Posey Parker was there.
Oh God, yes,
was there. I think that's kind of creepy. If you don't like,
and she attacked her like crazy.
Oh, really?
Yes.
The
sole purpose for going was to attack her.
Did she walk up to her?
I don't know. The descriptions I wrote almost sounded like she was practically there at poolside, ready to scream and yell at her, or at least at news conferences after the event or something. But she seemed as though she was very close to the action and capable of making a real mess of things, just completely inappropriately, of course, because it's Posey Parker and she's a sick person.
While I was shaving, I clicked on a video and it was her in the stands. And the one thing that like really pisses me off, okay? They let Posey Parker walk in with an iPhone or whatever kind of phone she has and video an NCAA event, okay? I put a commercial on from a singer commercial from the 1970s on and I get a copyright strike. I don't get YouTube's rules. Does that mean I can walk in Dodger Stadium and start live streaming Dodger games?
You don't have a blue check behind your name?
That's what I'm saying. That's bull. That's just BS. How
Yeah.
can she walk into there's kids there? You know, those are our kids. We send our kids to college. You know,
why don't you get a blue check?
Maybe I don't want. Hey, I always joke and say I have a real job. That's why I always put copyrighted stuff in my material.
All you have to do is, if you want a blue tick on Twitter, is just register with them.
No, I'm talking about on YouTube, because for some reason, like YouTube has been taking down a lot of TERF channels, like just annihilating them. Okay. And for some reason, Posey Parker has been allowed to be on this entire time.
Yeah, because it's revenue for Google.
It's bullshit.
Because if you notice what a pain in the arse YouTube is now with the ads.
Yeah.
Have you noticed when it comes to, you can skip this ad in 5 seconds, and you hover over it waiting, and then it disappears and goes to another ad, and then goes skip again.
Well, I'm not sure why I believe this, but I think it's probably a better idea that they go after the small potatoes first, and then go after the big boys later.
They're
like
going.
I said, I don't know why I feel that way. I just do.
Well, the one they recently took down was the one that I told you about that had the whole cuttlefish thing, and she got famous overnight. And TERFs are fighting internally because, let's be real, it happens in every community when people get up on themselves or they get semi known online. That community starts eating itself. Pick a community, and you know, I'll tell you a story about people who hate each other. You know,
well, and especially
that's just
when,
the natural dynamic of hate groups, is they always eat their own.
Oh yeah.
When you've got a group that's established just because they want to attack people, it's just a matter of time before they start biting each other.
So they're at war with each other right now. But it just scares me that someone like Posey Parker could come to America and just cause so much damage for no reason. Do you know if I went to the UK and said I'm coming to the UK, they would stop me at the airport and be like, "No, you can't come to our country."
I was checking out a particular. Well, I was reporting and blocking them. A particular trans person who would protest me calling her that. Today, she labels herself a transsexual, and she is going after the GC's TERFs, because she says their message is absolutely fucked, and they're, as individuals, completely fucked and have no business saying and doing what they are, which of course we all tend to like. But she also goes after all transgender people who are not what she defines as transsexual, with her definition of that being that they're somebody who has gone through process and had bottom surgery, top surgery, whatever, the whole caboodle. And if you're still somebody who's needing bottom surgery, she thinks that you're a fetishist and have no business demanding civil rights and ability to change names and change gender markers.
What's her name?
any of that stuff.
Well, Jenny,
It's
when
it's Ratty. It's Ratty something or other. RATIE something something. It's a long stupid name.
Well, when you speak with no brain,
But if you
don't
go
realise
through her page, she's real easy to report because virtually every tweet she has is something negative, nasty, and hate oriented.
Along oh man, like
I would have
20
thought transsexuality is a feeling rather than
23 years ago, I dated a woman who just happened to be trans, and about 4 years ago, we're still friends, we still talk, and 4 years ago, I saw her in front of Trump Tower, and I was like, "Oh, she's protesting Trump." No,
Who's
she was for Trump. And I was like, "Oh wow!"
Wow.
So that's why I'm looking up right now to see if it's her, because I know a lot of right wing people in the LGBTQIA plus community, a lot of right wing. And there's a video in her own video. These two gay guys from San Francisco walk up to her and they're like, "What's wrong with you? Do you know where you are? Do you know who you're standing with?" Like, they were puzzled of why she was for Trump,
Well, it's a difficult position that she's taking because there are absolutely people in the trans community, and I believe in the umbrella. I should first say this, that I believe in the umbrella, in that all trans people, whether they are binary as binary can be, to NB people who have no interest in going through all sorts of medical procedures, that we're all under the same trans umbrella.
Agreed.
That being said, because it seems apparent that each group within that umbrella wants their own tribe and their own name for that tribe, that the people who are indeed transgender, who have gone through all the medical procedures and things like that, should have their own name and their own tribe as well.
Well,
And
that's right,
but
Jenny.
but she thinks that you can have that, but you have to destroy the NBs and you have to purge them from society. And she's willing to do it with any means possible, from calling them pedophiles to fetishists and all sorts of things. So she has a germ of a correct concept, but she just takes it to the horrible abusive level, and instead of trying to recognize it or deal with it with some kind of critical thinking and compassion for people.
Well, isn't transgender a feeling, an urge that something isn't right? Isn't that what you
Well,
guys actually live with?
you can say it's a feeling, but it's more than that.
Well, I know it's based on genetics as well.
No. I'm still just with the ethereal belief and personal awareness and consciousness and things like that. I mean, that you're heterosexual, right?
Yeah.
When did you decide you were heterosexual?
I've just never had an interest in men ever. I still
Okay,
don't.
exactly. And it's just that it's always been that way. It's who you are.
Yeah.
That's the same for a transgender person. That
Yeah.
they have just always been somebody who has known that something's fucking wrong here.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, you can't hear your genes crying out, can you? You instinctively know that there's something different.
Let me
got to
tell
be a
you.
hard life.
Let me tell you. I've gained 45 pounds. My jeans are crying out. My jeans are screaming. Are you kidding me? Every time I put on my clothes from last year, I'm like, "Ooh, I've gained some weight. Ooh, can't wear this anymore."
Yeah, well, you're a seamstress. You can let them out.
I know.
Get those leptin injections.
Have you ever noticed that all superheroes are good at sewing as well?
No, what's that?
All superheroes are good at sewing. Spider-Man. They all, what was it? Who's
Not
the
all of
blind
them.
one?
No, they wear their underwear on top of their clothes. Okay.
Well, yeah.
I've been waiting my whole life to have this conversation. Okay,
Yeah,
ever since
so-
I was a little kid, wearing your tidy whities, that shit I still have nightmares about. So wearing tidy reds or tidy blues is still kind of weird. Even the George Reeves Superman, I don't know. It's just you're wearing your underwear on top of your clothes. It's
I
weird.
think they did that for modesty, because if they're wearing a cat suit, their bulges are going to show.
Yeah,
But putting underwear on over that, brings a certain dignity. As weird as that sounds.
except that there's a bit of a flaw in that, because these costumes were designed in comic books before there were ever live actors playing them.
I know they're trying to copy the
but
wrestler style.
anatomy was still there, and everybody had a package.
Yeah, but in comic books they wouldn't have to show that regardless. So
well,
I've wondered this since I was a little kid, reading comics, watching cartoons. Like, why are they effing? I would always put myself in their place, and that's more. I haven't changed since I was a little kid. That's just mortifying to me.
Well, for a lot of them, like Spider-Man's a good example. I can understand the skin tight suit. He relies on his agility for everything. You can't have any kind of clothing that's going to get in your way or catch on anything.
I get it. I completely get it. It's tactical, but like I work out. That still doesn't mean I'm gonna wear biker shorts. But I'm super masky. Like I'm a super masky kind of guy. It's just not my thing.
On the sewing thing, you do have to give it. Spider-Man did make his own costume. So apparently his Aunt May taught him how to sew.
In one of the versions, I think it was Invincible. Was it Invincible Spider-Man? MJ Watson made him his suit in the comics.
I'm going by the original comics. I'm going back to Spider-Man from the 1970s.
Where are my notes?
Did Spider-Man wear underwear over?
I doubt he wore underwear. The position he gets in with that skin tight suit, that must chafe. That latex must chafe, mustn't it? It must
and
that's down there.
And that's another thing. Are they wearing like what is it? No, I can't even pronounce it right now. But there's certain types of polyester, and some are more coarse than others. Some breathe, some don't. I found in a box a long time ago a Star Trek uniform. I scored. It was from the from the 1970s. It doesn't fit anymore because I'm not that skinny, but it's pure polyester. It does not breathe. When I sweat in it, it dribbles all the way down past the shirt.
That's where the spider web comes from, because he uses so much talc in there to stop it chafing.
One thing I do like,
sweat gets in it turns into this tacky, stringy stuff.
What's that, Jenny?
Well, one thing I do like about the current superhero costumes, uniforms, whatever, that Hollywood has done is that they've given them all that texture. That's not just a warp and woof, fabric, but it's got those like hexagonal mapping over the whole thing, and that just looks like a more impenetrable covering than just cloth or something like that.
Like in the new Superman. I actually like the new Superman movies, and it looks like it's not cloth. It looks like it's like hard plastic or something. Yeah. That's more believable.
And I really liked when Supergirl on her TV series went to that kind of costume in her like last season or two. I think it just made her so fucking totally hot.
It's not negotiable with me, but like, get a flag, go fly it outside your house and see how long it lasts. If you were flying around in a cheap polyester costume.
Well, why don't you make their suits out of leather?
Yeah.
Like Eddie Murphy's red suit, leather suit.
Okay,
that's
to
why
be
fair,
this
video raw.
Oh,
for
that's such a
Spider-Man
great
or the
suit.
Flash, if you're capable of achieving supersonic speeds, no fabric is going to stay on.
That's what I'm saying.
That's true. Mm-hmm.
You're just it's just gonna rub off.
There's been observations made with plane tragedies, like TWA 800 and stuff like that. When the people fall, the bodies fall from this 30,000-foot altitude, they reach their terminal velocity, and it completely shreds them of all their clothes.
I never thought of that, but I can see how that would happen. Yeah.
So, Commander 401, I can roughly guess your age. Quillman, and Doug is awesome. Doug is absolutely Doug. For those who don't know, would put his underwear over his shorts and everything, and that was his costume.
Yep.
Well,
Doug was awesome. Doug was awesome.
Talking of age, Will, we're all pushing that age now where we won't worry about underwear anyway. We'll all be wearing diapers.
I'm already shameless, but the older I get, the less I do care. I won't even lie. That's like when people judge me and say things, I'm like, okay. And good for you.
Yeah, I don't even hide a fart now.
Yeah, that's I think one of the quickest ways to disarm somebody. I know that I don't get misgendered very much, but it does happen occasionally. And if somebody is like hostile with it, that you can clear that it's something that they're angry at and they want to kill you. I'd love to disarm them by just saying, look at it and say, okay, yeah, so what?
Exactly. Like, what are you gonna do?
Oh, I've done that quite a few times because
I don't care what
things people think are supposed to insult me, I just don't give a care.
There have been people who have called my name out on Twitter, and you know what? If you ever call my name out, I'm gonna say the same thing. I do not fight online, and this is me typing because I don't. Like when I was younger, I used to get in physical fights. Like, so I'm a tactile person. If you're not throwing tomatoes or fists at me, like I could care less.
Yeah.
Words, they hurt my feelings, but they don't physically hurt. So
I've always lived by
have at it.
If people have a problem with me, it's their fucking problem, not mine. Why should I care?
Well, I also live by the adage that, like, when you look at someone and you don't like them, you see something you don't like inside yourself.
Well, I don't know. I looked at Trump and thought he was a right cock.
Well, that's different. Well, he's a nuclear narcissist you can see from outer space.
Nuclear narcissist. That's a great word. Great word.
It's one of the things that I see in retrospect that before I really realized I was trans, that I would get guys misgendering me from the back all the time. They'd come up behind me and they'd think I was a woman. And to most guys that would be a real blow, and I just found it humorous.
As long as people are accepted, and people will be happy. It's the non-acceptance that makes this world.
Well, no, I can certainly understand
racism and the bigotry and all of this nonsense, and that's all what people want. They just want to be accepted for who they are. Why not?
I really do understand the thing about trans people being misgendered, because especially if it's something that they're really making the effort to transition, if they're really working on how they look and that, I can understand how that's a blow. That would really sting.
Well, I get away with it because I've always called everyone mate anyway, whether they're children, male, female, doesn't matter to me. I just call everyone mate. Hi, mate. How you doing?
Same.
Well, and even stuff like that, I don't think is a big deal about guys or dudes or that.
Yeah, guys.
Because I think the terms are just used in general for a group of mixed gendered people, so it doesn't matter.
It does hurt people's feelings, and it depends on where you're from. Like where I'm from, my ex-wife and I, we call each other bro. She'll walk up to me like, "Hey, bro," and I'm like, "Oh, really, bro?"
Jenny, what were you gonna say?
Nothing.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Do you not
I'd
think
be
that the
interested in
human
your
minefield
take on
has
this.
come on quick?
It just, the
human minefield has come along so quickly and so fantastically fast. It's hard to keep. It's overtook technology.
Yeah, but where I live, we have a huge LGBTQIA plus community. If I walk up to someone and say bro, I could get punched in the face, you know. So a lot of the time I say they for everything now.
Yeah. Okay, Jenny, I did want to hear your take on this, just because you've more experience with it than anyone else here. How do you feel about somebody who says guys or dudes?
I absolutely despise the word dude and bro. If you include me in with those words, I'm going to say something very strongly.
That's
Okay,
why I
that's
came
good
with
to know.
If you put me in a group with guys, I could care less, because that has been used for most of my life as a globally inclusive term.
What about mate?
I don't know. I suppose I'd be okay with it, because I know that in Australia and Britain that mate is used without
Yeah.
respect to gender.
Let's just friend.
Yeah, that it does
If you
sound
can.
very masculine, and it makes me a little uncomfortable. But I don't think I would protest, because I know it's a cultural thing for me.
I've been hearing it enough from people in Australia that it wouldn't bother me now.
Well, good day, mate.
We say
That's
bro.
a term of respect. If you say good day, cobber, that's a true friend.
Like I said, it just depends on where you're from. But again, I wouldn't walk around people saying, "Hey, bro, hey, dude." But in my circle of people, we and it's quite a few women that I call bro. It's weird, but it's a California thing too, and I'm not kidding you. I think it's people who are from my town, because we have a certain Southern California dialect in Twain.
Yeah, dude would be on my list of don't you dare call me that.
Okay, I need to know that.
Jenny and I have already had our battle over this one.
Oh,
So
yeah,
let's save
'cause
each other the not talking for 6 months, and let's move
Oh, yeah, I
on.
remember that.
What
well,
was
especially after Wayne's World, just calling everybody dude became just common after Wayne's World. So
I stopped saying dude when I got online, because I say dude for everything. If I get shocked, I'm like dude. If I'm happy, I'm like dude. It's for me, it's not about gender. It's just it's a noun. I use dude like fuck. I say fuck for everything.
Yeah, I have to agree. With the use of it, you do that instant assessment in your brain about how it's being used and how it's being directed and things, and I have to do that. And there's times where somebody says "dude" that I could care less, and "bro" and I could care less. It all depends on how they're using it and how they're intending it and who they're applying it to.
I literally speak dude bro. Hey, what's up, native atheists?
Dude, bro.
That's what they call the West Coast speak. That's what the new age kids. I was kind of offended at first, and I was like, yeah, that's kind of how.
See, now that comment that just came up, "What's up, dudes?" I wouldn't have a problem with that. But if they're looking at me and they say, "What's up, dude?" I'm going to have a problem with that.
Yeah, are they directing it to you specifically, or just kind of a general thing?
Matter of fact, like I say dude to my car. I'm like, dude, the other day I got in and the battery was dead in my truck. I screamed dude so loud my neighbor looked at me like, are you okay? But I was mad at an inanimate object, really, and I called it dude.
But even then, don't you think it should be taken in the context of the conversation?
Absolutely, but that's me. That's not my thing. I have other sensitivities. See, that's the thing. We all have our sensitivities, so I try to censor myself, because I know where I live and certain things that people say are unacceptable in other circles. So
I don't care what anyone says to me or about me. I really don't.
I curse a lot more in real life. A lot more.
Well, what tribe you're with when it gets said or used matters a lot too. You know your own tribe and where they're coming from, and what their vibes are for how they express themselves. And it's not necessarily going to be a problem when somebody says that.
Like, I hang out with a bunch of Mexican gay guys, okay? And they call each other joto, which means the F word. if someone was to say that to me, I would literally break their nose. When they say that to me, we giggle like little school kids. You know, it's your circle, it's your people, it's who you hang out with. You know.
Yeah, and the flip side of that is that if you're saying it, you have to consider who you're saying it to and how are they likely to take it.
Where I'm from, go misgender a trans woman to her face. In Los Angeles, you'll get punched in your face. It's known. See, but people don't fuck with each other here like that. Because the community is so humongous, there's people that under the umbrella that live in every community. Like if you say something you could go to a grocery store and if you said like I don't like LGBTQIA plus people, someone would run up to you and be like, why? Why don't you? LA is a different place. Like it's a different universe.
Here in the UK, we're a bit more accepting. I mean, at the end of the day, don't get me wrong. I know I don't care what people say about me or whatever, but if I've offended someone and they point it out to me, I'm always the first to apologise and say, I'm sorry, I'll do my best not to do that in the future.
You know what?
I mean, it's just one of, as we say, the human minefield is vast now, and it's just
absolutely
you can't live day-to-day life without offending somebody on this planet. You can't do anything. You're going to offend someone, and if people go around like that, then this world will never work. You know
what's really funny? My generation was taught that like we need to see beyond the labels and come together.
Well, this is it. The acceptance. That's what I was talking about earlier.
But now we kind of live in the era of the individual. And the individual is like, hooray for me, F you. You know? And,
well, in the U.S., that's what we've come to.
Yeah, I can only...
everything's about my rights, my freedoms. Nobody gives a damn about if they're killing their neighbors in the process.
Exactly. Do you know in LA, it's such a funny thing. Most people are still wearing masks. I would say about 60%. But
I still wear a mask.
You can see the people who are self-entitled are just angry because they're not wearing a mask, and it's not a big deal, you know.
I still wear a mask even now. I mean,
I find it interesting how people who choose to wear a mask now are getting harassed for it.
Yeah,
and in a hostile way, not just a little cajoling, but some seriously hostile words.
I think that's only in America. Though.
All the mask mandates here expired at the beginning of the month, and since then, I still wear a mask. I have not seen anyone else in my building wearing one.
When Isaiah went for his homeschool physical, where all the kids go to our local Central Park, out of probably 200 people. 250. I don't know. It was a large amount of people. Isaiah and I were the only people wearing masks. Only. And they were standing really close to each other. I was way off on my cell phone.
Yeah.
But that's the thing that these guys are all about freedom and freedom of choice and things like that. And I just say to them, it's my choice to wear a fucking mask. So fuck off, get out my face, you prick. Simple as that.
No one says anything to me because people are scared of black people in America. So no one's gonna say a word to me about it. Like,
if someone challenges me on them, I tell them that this is more for your protection than mine. It's because every time I cough, what am I throwing out there?
I never thought about that because I do cough a lot. And I do it confidently with my mask on now. Mm-hmm. I do. Well, it's because I'll smoke and then leave the house.
I have a little bottle of hand sanitizer in my pocket. I don't care if it's anal. Well, I've always got it in my pocket and take it out before I go in any store or go in any pub.
Any store, any public place I go into, I'm wearing it.
It's really strange. I do this social experiment every time I go somewhere. I count we're pretty much 50-50 or 60-40. Even today at the pot shop, when I was in line, I went around for something. out of like 8 people in line, 4 people were wearing masks and 4 people were not. It's like that everywhere here in California. It's really weird.
Yeah, Mippet, what's the vaccination rate down where you are? Are the vaccines available enough that everybody who wants it can get it or not?
I think it's weird that we're not doing that because our numbers have not changed here in Los Angeles County. So people are still dying and they're just not saying anything.
Yeah, well, like I say, they let all the mask mandates here expire, and there's still 2,000 people a day are dying in the U.S.
It's because the Democrats don't want to lose over COVID, and then we get like all kind of, Trump style people again.
Yeah.
I think in a political sense, not in a moral sense, but in a political sense, I think it's fine that they've chosen to do it this way. That if a lot of people want to continue to be anti-vax and anti-mask, and they want to catch the disease and die, that's fine. That's their choice. I don't think the Democrats should sacrifice the election because to fight some people on something that is just so lunacy based. Yes, there's potential ramifications for mutations and spread to other people and that kind of stuff that still exists. But if it becomes a problem, then they should go and say it's time to put the mask mandates back on, and it's time to get the vaccination mandates back on.
Well,
but don't do it. But don't let it now.
Jenny.
Huh?
You got the problem of the likes of your Kevin Sorbo and your Marjorie Taylor Greene giving out this misinformation about this.
Oh, and Skids Crasher, I'm half and half. So yeah, I qualify as a black person. That's Commander Black Person.
Mick at 69 says social distance as well. I do that. I'm sick of social distancing. 6 feet.
Did you see the
I can't wait till this
recent pictures of Kevin Sorbo? How old he's gotten?
Oh, he's sad, isn't he?
He's one of those.
He wouldn't do a video for me because I've responded so many times on his feed for his idiotic comments. That
he's. I have to give it to him. He's pretty resilient. He does not. Seems to take a lot for him to block somebody on Twitter.
He hasn't blocked me, but he won't do a video for my channel. Yeah, I wanted him to do a paid video to promote my channel, and he wouldn't do it because he's a prick.
Okay.
But yeah, as I said, I want the 6 feet thing to end, so I can go back to moving 20 feet away from people because I fucking hate people.
I was just thinking how people seem to keep the 6 foot thing kind of instinctually right now. That I see a lot of people just maintaining that distance without being told, without there being stickers on the floor, without there being tape on.
I do.
The non-idiots, Jen.
I
They're the people who know this is a pandemic, it is a killer, and they don't want to die.
Oh, Skids Crasher, I got this at Pride. I got this at Pride.
Gay shit, huh?
Super gay shit. Super gay.
Puke in the rainbow.
I got it at Pride 2021. I always get a souvenir and I can't find half the stuff from 17 years ago, so I always get a shirt or something now.
I am so happy that the emoji people created and allowed to exist the shit emoji. I think that's very wonderful.
When I saw this shirt, I was like, "Oh, you are mine." Like, I agree with you. I have poop emoji sheets, and Isaiah tells me, he's like, "These are the dumbest sheets ever." He's like, "These are so stupid." But poop emoji is hilarious. Absolutely hilarious.
Will, have you ever thought about becoming a t-shirt company?
I threaten it all the time. The thing is, actually, Kitty and I had this conversation last night. The machine's like 10 grand. The one that I want that can do this and embroidery. So I
Mhm.
have to make life decisions, like, because if I did something like that, then I'd have to get clients. I would have to, that's because right now I'm having the time of my life doing super gay shit, like making vests and refurbishing. I recently sold a sewing machine and I was like, oop, this justifies everything. Like, I sold a sewing machine again for $1,000.
Now, are
So
you talking the machine, a manual machine, or a completely automatic?
it does, yes, it does everything. It would do it would quite it's like it's a stand-up machine and you tell it what to do.
Okay.
And
It
it's a
still requires
professional.
a human to put the T-shirt into the work though, correctly
And
on
the
the work
inks
bed. Yeah.
and the inks and the threads and everything. It's like a printing, sewing, embroidery machine. I
It's not a
Interesting.
bank loan.
I follow quite
Business
a
loan.
I follow quite a few YouTubers who have these machines, and like I watch them because I watch their struggles and what they're going through, and I'm like, ooh, because one day I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go buy that. Then I'm like, that's 10 grand. Like, sit down and really think about that. Really think because that's an investment, you know.
Yeah, it certainly would be. And,
Yeah.
and it would be kind of hard to hire people on day one to do it, so you can do other things like you really want.
And
But
and that's another thing, like even with redoing my house right now, like I'm an everyday parent. Like I'm with my son Monday through Friday. I'm a real life soccer mom. Believe it or not, I have a job. So I am really busy all the time. A machine like that would require for
Yeah.
me to sit down and make it another job, you know.
What about using a merchandiser store to get some of your ideas printed first, sell them, and invest it?
They if you really want to get into Teespring, if you really want to get into it, I'll ruin everyone's day right now. They use slave labor. And like I can do it cheaper and better than someone getting beat up to make my Nikes
No,
or my
I
boots or something.
I didn't know there was a dark side to Teespring.
Just turn it over. If it says made in China, it was made by an Uyghur Muslim or someone getting beat up to make your clothes. At
A
this point.
a 4-year-old for $1 a day.
Well, yeah.
Like unfortunately, we live in crazy times. And I'm not saying anything that anyone doesn't know, but like because Isaiah and I have these conversations all the time. There's not anything that we don't own that wasn't made in China. They've cornered the market. We were warned in the 80s that this was going to happen. And,
Yeah.
Here we are.
Well,
that
I've
always
said
made me-
that
Sorry, Perf, go on, mate.
I've said that the American economy relies on still having a slave labor class. Otherwise, we couldn't afford to buy the stuff we have.
And I
We've
want
just
people
managed to ship it off to other countries, so we don't have to look at it.
And like we and another reason why China is quiet right now, because we buy like 60% of their shit. We buy like seriously a large
yeah.
amount of their stuff.
What,
They
what,
don't want to bomb their cash cow. We
What-
love tchotchkes. We love crap. We love cheap crap. Like I don't know how many stand-up fans I have, man. Like, I have
Well,
I'm no one
virtually
to-
everything's sold at Walmart.
I love Walmart, for as much as Walmart's ruined everything, I still go to Walmart. My cloak, all the material that I buy, I go to Michael's. I literally take a picture of it. I'll go to like the big stores, and I go to Walmart and buy the material and just match the colors because Walmart's cheaper because they buy giant units of things.
Hi, Ginger, you lurker.
oh yeah, Walmart does have fabrics and stuff.
Oh yeah,
Walmart prices are really that much better?
that much better, and I'll tell you why. Because let's say a company sets out 10 units, which is billions of dollars worth of stuff, okay? Walmart will go and buy 7 of that. And so the reason why they can afford to make it cheaper is because they know they're going to make their money in the long run. Because they own damn near all of them.
Yeah.
And Walmart has been doing that since 20 something years ago. They invented one of the most comprehensive tracking systems in America.
Oh yeah, their just in time system is brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, Walmart does it the other way around. They don't necessarily go to a company and see what they're making. they tell companies what to produce. They tell them what's going to
Exactly,
sell
yeah.
in their
Walmart,
stores.
they don't mess
Oh, that's
around,
true.
man. They don't
That-
mess
that-
around. Yeah.
That's
And they
absolutely
name their
true,
own
and
price as well.
that's been the downfall. There's been a lot of companies that say the biggest mistake we ever made was going with Walmart, because once they got you into the position where you're making their product, they own you, because
Yep.
everything that your company's making is through them, and they start saying, okay, we want to change the product in this way and that way, and this is what we're going to pay you,
Oof.
without any regard to whether or not that's going to be profitable for you.
And if you try raising the
And
price,
companies
because
start to get destroyed because they think that, well, I have to do that to retain the business with them, and so they do, and now suddenly they're an indentured servant to Walmart, basically.
yeah, if you and also with that, if it starts digging into your profit margin and you say I need to raise my prices, they just stop using you.
Yeah.
And you go bankrupt.
Right.
You basically
Yeah.
nothing because they're your biggest client. But
Right.
going back to China, it was interesting. I read all about China when Trump was in administration there. He was attacking China, and 1/3 of Americans' trade is through China. 1/3. That's incredible.
Yes, everything
normally
we.
a country's biggest trade is the hospitality industry, which is
I
about
don't.
a third. But a third of it, and then
Yes.
it backfired on him with them trucker hats, which I always think it's not a baseball cap, is it's a trucker hat. It makes people look like they're just getting over cancer or something. It does, they do. They were made in China, so I mean, it sort of bit him in the arse, really. Well, everything he did bit him in the arse. He's such a dick.
I asked.
Well, everything that Trump sells is made in China.
Oh,
Everything.
they're
Yeah.
such hypocrites.
Yeah,
They're such hypocrites.
Well, his banks are in China, aren't they? got a
Well,
lot
but
of money
Trump
coming out
also
there.
did a lot of good deals with China. That, like he got his daughter's companies exclusive contracts for China.
Mm-hmm. While president, he absolutely abused the office that way
Yeah.
for personal profit.
Well, iPhone, every
Here's one for you.
component is made in China.
Here's one for you, Jenny.
Okay, hold on a moment so I can zoom in on this. Oh, why did you fire him? That's cute.
I thought you'd appreciate that with
Well,
the
maybe
avatar
not the
you're
wig,
using
but
now.
It's the high
dress
heels
is kind of
on,
pretty.
on the bones. That's making me laugh.
I've seen this one. That's hilarious.
Yeah, Sloth Girl sent that to me.
Oh, I did Sloth Girl.
Chanisaurus.
Yeah, the Sloth Girl finds a lot of good ones on the internet and sends them to me.
Well, I just there's somebody who's put out a series of trans pride color dinosaurs, and I think they're just all very, very cute, and I kind of collected them, and I'm just spreading them around now. It's like that cartoon Foxes in Love.
Oh yeah.
I just love that cartoon. They're just so sweet, and tender. They just break my heart every time.
Well, the cartoon you got your avatar from. Yeah, I love seeing that one.
Yeah, dinosaurs. Yep.
Yeah, and it gets pretty philosophical at times. It gets some deep thoughts.
I haven't heard of that.
Well, all I know is it's the way to get to it is through Twitter. I don't know how to see it any other way.
Yeah, the artist posts the stuff on Twitter a lot, so you have to follow the account.
Yeah, I'm sure if you just did a basic Twitter search on dinosaurs, you'd come up with it eventually.
It might take a while just on dinosaurs. It's a popular topic.
Hans B. Hansen, I did not know that Microsoft Windows was made in India. I own Apple products because they're made for stoners like me. If you don't know what you're doing, buy an Apple.
They're made in China, and the batteries, I believe, are made in South Korea.
Yeah,
by
well,
Samsung.
India and Pakistan are, of course, where most of the customer service call centers are for so many companies in the U.S.
Yeah, even in the UK.
Oh wow! If you
They're not anymore though, because communication's gotten so cheap. That's why you get a lot of the scams from
Yep.
India now, because
Except-
we supplies the infrastructure to set them up for these
Yeah.
computeristic
Except
call centers.
AT&T, their call centers are in the U.S. because they contract them to private prisons.
Skin
Ah.
scratcher.
So if you call an AT&T call center, you're probably talking to someone in prison,
Oh wow.
But it's talking to
which
you while
means
you're
they can
selling
also get
mailbag.
away with only paying them $2 a day.
Hey Seraphim, how's it going? Skin scratcher? No, they're not. I have J's at my local pot shop. They sell a large amount of rolled J's for $20, and I buy them because I miss smoking cigarettes, but I don't have the lungs for them. So I smoke pot now. No more moon rocks. I'm too old for moon rocks. That's the problem. Like, I'm too old to be that fucked up. Like, I couldn't do that in the morning. My whole day would be gone. I can do it at night when all my responsibilities are taken care of. And I have a camera on my kitchen, so if my son walks in and cooks, I have just enough distance between me and the fire extinguisher.
Is he that bad?
No, but I'm a hover parent, and he's 12, but it's just him and I in the house, and I treat him like a grown man. I'm like, all right, I'm teaching him how to cook. I teach him how to do laundry, how to change oil, basic life stuff.
Well, yeah.
But I'm like, I don't want to hover over him while he's cooking because that's creepy. And I don't care if you have autism or not, you're going to notice. So I put a camera in my kitchen so he can go in there all he wants. It's scary when people start working with fire. My grandmother at 95, I would check on her all the time. Around 94, 95, she started losing it. I walked in her house and she had all her burners on. And she's like, oh, I just forgot. She was losing it.
Yeah. When I was taking care of my dad, I had to ban him from cooking, which really hurt him because he was very good cook all his life, and enjoyed the heck out of it. But he wasn't going out of the house anymore, so all he wanted to do was walk around wearing his bathrobe and stuff, and that's fine. But it was kind of one of these polyester items, and the sleeves, the wrists would be hanging down, and he's without thinking about it, having his the cloth hanging over the gas stove flame.
Oh yeah.
And I got this vision of my father suddenly becoming immolated like a Buddhist priest. I just couldn't cope with the idea. So
do you know, after I saw that, that's when I convinced my mom to it was kind of a catch-22 because I told my mom, I'm like, she needs a nurse. And my mom was like, okay, but your grandmother can't walk up and down her stairs anymore, so she has to move into your house basically.
Yeah.
So my grandmother stayed in my house until she passed away. She had a nurse and everything. She had someone that would stay for a week and someone would stay for another week, but that someone was always here for her.
It's sad what happens to the human body. We basically become infants again, overgrown infants. We get looked after, and your teeth fall out, your hair falls out. No matter
I'll be back in a minute here.
Okay.
My father, I consider lucky. His final diagnosis for his death was dementia.
Yeah.
Although he actually died from starvation. By his choice, not because I didn't take good care of him. Please, he finally decided one day that he's been around long enough and start eating and stop drinking water. He says, "I'm not going to. I'm going to die." Okay, I couldn't force it on him. The medical people who were supervising me said, "There's nothing you can do about that. It's a lot of old people choose to do it this way." So, and he was gone within a week.
Really?
Yeah.
My grandmother actually died from the exact same thing. That was her diagnosis as well. And it's really my grandma, was a perfect example of if you do things the right way. She never smoked a cigarette a day in her life, okay? She brushed twice a day. She died at 99 with all of her original teeth. Spoiler, I'm not going to die with all my original teeth. And she was just extremely healthy, but around 95, she would read every day. I would constantly go over there because after like 93, I started getting worried about her. I'm like, she's old. She lives in this giant 2-story house. And, you know, my cousins, we'd always rotate hanging out with her. And after about 95, she just completely lost it. It was just, but she lived a long life. My dad died of emphysema, cancer, basically. And he died literally 2 days after his 80th birthday. So he lived to be 80, but he lived a long life, you know. So it's sorry.
80 is a good age, I think, these days.
Where I'm from, people don't live that like and he told me his dad was a porter in Georgia in the 1950s, and he died of lung cancer, and he died young. Like my dad said, he died like 45, 46. I have all his records here. I just haven't looked it up lately.
I was quite surprised about your dad, Jenny. Only lasting a week of not eating and drinking.
Well, I talked to the medical people about that, and they said, well, a person can go a long time without eating, but you can only go about 3-4 days without liquid.
I don't know, them breatharians, they go months before they die.
Yeah, well, they're a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah.
I've seen what happens when you don't take in liquids. It's not a survivable thing.
Exactly.
I 2 liters a day at least.
I agree with Jenny. Having lived around nothing but senior citizens, that's another reason why I want to move away, because I was kind of a oops kid. My family is way older than me. My uncles are all in their 70s and 80s. Like my aunt is probably gonna pass away soon. She's well into her 80s. My family is you know, they're aging out.
Yeah.
Yeah, my dad went in 84.
Well, I'm the youngest of a large family, and as a kid, I was observant enough to realize what was killing most of the relatives. So, yeah, as a result, I'm pretty sure I'm going to outlive everyone I know.
Well, I live
really
in
disturbing,
in the middle of Norfolk, which is middle of nowhere, tiny little village, and everyone around me is old.
What was that, Jenny?
I mentioned this to the missus.
It's kind of weird with my dad. You know, I know he lived to 84, and his last year was difficult, but it was only really the last 2 months that were really awful.
Yeah.
But I'm less than 20 years from that age.
Yeah.
And it's a very scary thought, and I'm not too far from
dementia is not a good illness.
Them, you know.
So Sarah Fimhide, I actually was gonna move to Georgia, but I have 2 friends who live there, and it's ironic, but because I have a friend I grew up with. One, he lives on quote unquote the black side of Atlanta, and I have another friend that grew up on my street. He lives on quote unquote the white side of Atlanta, and they both told me don't move here.
Well,
both of them were like, you will not like it. Do not move here.
Well, you'd have to build your house in the middle of the road.
Well, I want to move away from where I live. It's just it no longer reflects. I live in a really red town. My son's growing up here. He's starting to reflect the area. I don't like it. I want to, I don't know. I want to move somewhere else, but I don't want to live in Texas because Austin, Texas has become super gay. I know quite a few people that have moved there, but I don't want to live in Texas, I was really thinking about moving to Atlanta because I have family that's from Savannah, and I have a ton of family that lives in North Carolina and in Georgia in general. But no, I really wanted to, but
Well,
don't
I've
know.
been wanting to get a group of us together, and we can buy an abandoned town on the Minnesota Iron Range. So then we can, just set ourselves up as being our own city.
What would you call it?
Freetania.
I don't know, but see, we could start out that way with having our own town that everyone on the city council, all the elected officials are going to be atheists, and we can just kind of expand out from there to take over the state.
I have the perfect name for it. Spectrumville.
That's quite a good name,
Fucktopia.
actually.
Yeah, except I think if you use the word spectrum in anything in Minnesota, our cable provider will sue you for copyright infringement.
And Sarah just named the bar that I will be opening up. My bar will be called Fucktopia, patent pending, patent pending.
Fucktopia.
Prism City.
Well, that could be a good town name too. Fucktopia.
Yeah, it sells itself. That'll sell itself.
Oh man.
Yeah, we need to get it set up, and then advertise it as being a refugee camp for everyone from the South who needs to get out of there.
I grew up in a semi small town setting, and I benefited from it. And I no longer see my town reflecting what it used to be. And I want my son to, at least in his high school years, have the experience that I had. I had a really stereotypical Mayberry kind of experience, and I want every kid deserves that, not just my kid. Every kid deserves peace.
Okay, you could have that in the small town I was in Michigan, but I didn't like the trade-offs because you can't be anyone else there. It's not a matter of do you go to church? It's just which church do you belong to?
See, and that's another thing. Like, I wear a cowboy hat, so people always make a lot of assumptions about me that are false. They assume that I'm super religious, that all these things, and I'm like, no, I'm not. So that's why I have to do my research, because I have to live somewhere where people, I stick out. I really stick out. Especially when I wear super gay shit like this.
Okay,
I love this stupid shirt.
It sounds like a joke, but actually, when I lived there in that small town, I counted. There were 3,000 people. There were 6 blacks and 1 Asian.
See, nah, where I live, white people are a minority. And because I've lived other places where that's not true, like I constantly say that.
I've only seen 3 black people in this village or in this town, and I have no idea if they're actually residents. One guy I do, a young man, very pleasant young man, works at the gas station. I know he's a resident, and so I know he has, he's just a kid, so he's got his parents and stuff like that. So they must live in town too, since he does. But I've never seen them, and it's just so weird to look around and say, I've only seen 3 black people in this entire town in all the years I've lived here. It's like,
Okay.
what?
I don't know who Doug Wilson is. Does anybody have a reference to this?
No, I haven't. It's weird to me, Jenny, to see the exact opposite. When I moved out of California, it was weird to me to where I live, it's not only white people and black people, but in the rest of America, it's like only a certain, set, there's only white people and black people. Where I live, I grew up around people from around the world. Name it.
Yeah.
I grew up around someone that's from there,
Well, all my adult years in Milwaukee, I lived in the Lower East Side, which was the most culturally diverse area in the state of Wisconsin. And so, race and mixed neighborhoods and stuff like that means nothing. And it was just so strange coming up here and going, wait a minute, am I in a real place, or is this a dream?
When I was in Michigan, my family kept telling me that, if I, gave it a try, that I'd get to like it there. And it's like, you really don't understand anything about me. If anybody here found out what I really am, and I mean, there wasn't even any thought about me transitioning there, but there was one openly gay man in town. And in the 2 years I lived there, he got beat up twice walking home from the bar.
See, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. That just doesn't go on around here. And if it did, the gay guy would pull a 45 out of his pocket. Oh, that's just.
I was at the local
oh.
gas station. That was about 2 weeks ago, and I was chatting with one of the kids that works there, Caitlin. She's really neat. She's 21, just turned 21. She's 6'2".
Oh wow.
Yeah, she's gorgeous. Anyways, we're just shooting the shit and stuff like this, and this guy comes in. He seemed a little confused. He didn't know how to get the gas pump to start working, and then he couldn't find his wallet, and then he couldn't find his credit card in the
Was
wallet.
he on acid?
And no, you know, he was easily in his 70s, 80s.
Oh, okay.
And he comes in, and big dude, like 6'7", you know, 6'8" kind of size. You know, these huge monster hands, and you know, you could tell that he was spent his life as a farmer and stuff like that. And he just started yelling at me and Caitlin about the price of gas and Biden and all this corners. And then he made the mistake of asking me a question. You know, I was perfectly happy just keeping my mouth shut, but then he asked me this challenging question he says, "You think it's Biden's fault, don't you? You know, the price of gas."
Yeah.
And I said, "Absolutely not. And anybody who thinks it is has to spend a lot less time watching Fox News because they're full of shit." And boy, did that set him off. They called the police. He was so bad, and he was. The police finally set him up. I don't know how they can do this, but they charged him with trespassing because he wouldn't leave when he was told to, and he is banned from the store for life.
Happens all the time here. Happens all the time. They take your picture, Al Bundy style. They put it on the wall. If this person ever comes back, call the cops. Trespassing's real.
They can do that. Yeah, and it's much like a restraining order.
Yep.
That if anybody reports him on the property, he can be arrested for it.
Especially like habitual thieves. They name and shame people. In my town, like habitual thief, like people that constantly steal from the mall and get caught. They'll ban you from all of the stores nationwide. You know.
Walmart will do that for anybody who's caught shoplifting them repeatedly.
Yeah. And from a heartless, capitalist, warmongering state of mind, I can understand that.
Yeah, me too.
Well, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, if you've been caught stealing from them more than once, there's no reason they want you in the store.
You know, I own a business, okay? And like my dad in one of the way off ranch houses had a Singer sewing machine. It was a treadle machine. The thing, like, it was honestly worth $5 or $6 grand. After he passed away, I didn't go back to the ranch for like 2 or 3 months out of just depression. When I walked in the ranch house, that thing was gone. I think people that steal should be tarred and feathered, or at least put in stocks and let me throw tomatoes at them.
Well, that's the moralistic side of it, Will. I mean, stealing from Walmart. I know that Walmart, it's a similar to Walmart own Asda in the UK.
Okay.
So I'm gathered it sells similar things, furniture, clothes, and as well as food. But if someone's stealing food, isn't that an issue that needs to be looked into?
I agree with you. No, I agree with you. No, that's different. That's different from someone stealing my sewing machine. Then like,
that's just petty. That's just
there's a huge difference between someone who goes into somebody's home and takes something and somebody who's shoplifting at Walmart.
They broke onto
that entirely differently.
Yeah, they broke onto a property that wasn't theirs. Like it's the property sits on 65 acres. So if you're on the property, you're already like 15 acres in if you're near the ranch house, you know? So you're there for a reason if you're walking near there, you know? But like I said, if you steal from, if I saw someone stealing from my local grocery store, I wouldn't say a word because our prices are robbery anyways. But let me ask you a question. I was a bit of an ornery punk teenager, okay? My friends and I, we would do beer runs at gas stations. Would you say anything if you saw a kid doing a beer run at a gas station?
You mean
No,
stealing?
why?
Yes, it's stealing.
Yeah.
Yeah, kids stealing alcohol, I would.
That's what I'm saying. But it's from a heartless corporation, you
But
know.
it's not a heartless corporation because who ends up paying it for it? I mean, insurance goes up and taxes
Yeah,
go up because
that's kind
theft.
of a borderline thing because while it may be a corporation on the sign, it's an individual franchise.
Not always.
No,
gas
not-
No,
stations.
not always.
Yeah.
Not gas
You can't tell
stations.
unless
We
you know
would
which ones are around.
we would do it from grocery stores, and our grocery stores are they're named differently, but they're Safeway. Safeway owns the West Coast. If you
We
live
have
on the West
Safeway
Coast,
here.
exactly. If you live on the West Coast, you have a Safeway or some subsidiary that thereof in your town, you know. And I'm not saying what I did was right. There
Yeah.
was my uncle was a sheriff and my cousin was kind of an idiot, and we did a beer run in my uncle's truck, and the guy from the grocery store got the license plate, and they called my uncle and they're like, "Hey, we have a weird question for you. Are you stealing beer?"
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
so
yeah.
not
As a
like we were
teenager, I
we were
was
doing
terrible about that. I was shoplifting in all sorts of stores when I was a teenager.
we were we were just trying to be cool, you know. We'd go
Yep.
to show up to parties with 800 beers, and you know, all of a sudden everybody loves you, you know.
For
If
me,
you
the
if you were
problem
buying beer with a fake ID, and I wouldn't say anything. I don't think. That's what
for me the
that's what
problem
teens
was that
do, isn't it?
religion had backfired. By the time I was 8 or 9, the Catholic Church had me convinced I was going to hell and nothing could be done about it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So as a
that's what
teenager, I
was
saw
saying.
no reason to have any ethics.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I want to tell you a true story, and I'll take jerking off out of the equation. I was told if you do certain things, you are going straight to hell. Like you're done, like right then and there. There was a few that I did them, and I'm like, oh, hell's not real.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not real. You look around, like
Yeah.
I was told if you make out with someone of the same sex, if you jerk off. Catholics, I don't know, people of different generations. I don't know if you were taught this, but I was taught that if you
Oh, yeah.
masturbate,
yeah.
you go to hell. I was
Yep.
raised Roman Catholic.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah, I
Well,
was raised Catholic also, and that's
It was never even mentioned in my Lutheran education.
Oh, they
Yeah.
told us don't touch yourself,
Well,
don't look down there, don't.
The dogma, don't forget. The dogma is you're born a sinner.
yeah, but they had convinced me that I was irredeemable. There was nothing that could be done to fix it. So it's like, okay, I know I'm going to hell, so I might as well have as much fun as I can now.
That's what I'm saying. And you know what? Unfortunately, since I was a kid, I've kind of always lived by that mentality, and I've always thought like I don't have the same hangups as Christians, so I'm nice to people no matter what.
Yeah.
If someone's a Muslim, if someone's Jewish, I don't judge them. If you meet like a hardcore Christian nowadays, if you say you're atheist, they'll treat you like garbage.
Yeah.
tell someone you're an atheist and see how they
Well,
treat you.
yeah, that's a good point because a few weeks ago I was in my local pub, just having a drink with the missus, and a new couple come in and he introduced himself. He introduced himself. I'll just say his name is Dave. Say,
Uh-huh.
he said, "Hi, I'm Dave, born again Christian." I instantly thought, "What the fuck did you have to tell me that?" I said, "Hi, I'll call myself Dog. I'm Dog, active atheist." He was like, "Oh, I don't care about that." I said, "Atheism's good with me. I never get angry over things like that." It took 5 minutes for him to storm out to have a cigarette.
Same thing.
Literally storm out. He was fuming by the time I'd finished with him.
I
I
recently
was just
thought
asking
that
him
one.
because he went into out of all of these institutions or cults, as I call them, Catholicism, say, because as Pep, she knows I was basically born and bred a Orthodox Catholic. I went to Catholic school, and I was so abused by that religion that I went through what Pep. I went through, God, all through my teens. I went through, being forsaken, and then anger. I mean, total anger. It was. I got my act together and started learning in school and proper stuff rather than praying twice a lesson. And Catholics are terrible, and it was at the age as well when these schools were Catholic institutions. Where look at the Indigenous children of Canada, what they did with them. The truth will never come out, but these are all over the world. These Catholic institutions. Ireland was famous for its Magdalene laundrettes. One of them found on Catholic land 500 bodies of children under there, and they were so institutionalized in these laundrettes that they weren't allowed to speak and anything. That it drove them insane. And guess who owned the insane asylums? They sent them to.
Yep.
They're Catholic.
I find that I tend to only be nasty in terms of strangers to just one group of people. And I'm dead serious with this. It's going to sound like
I wasn't nasty to this guy, Jenny. I just asked the right questions. Why he believes.
Yeah, let Jenny finish.
Who's that, Jenny?
Like I said, it'll sound like a joke, but it's really not. And the only people I treat nasty are Republicans.
Really? I live around a large amount of Republicans, like a very, very large amount.
It's very, very, very difficult for me to not be snide anytime they open their mouth that has anything to do with some sort of social, political, or consequential issues, because they are so sick with what they believe and how they act. I just cannot help myself but say something. I just can't.
I do too, but like when I have conversations with my neighbors, I always ask them, because they'll say something and I'm like, why do you care? And I'll say, why are you like, or they'll say something. For me, I always get the LGBTQIA plus questions, and I'll start out with like, why do you care? Is this affecting you? Do you know somebody in that, in whatever you're talking about? And they usually don't. It's something they heard on Fox News or their friend told them. It's always some ridiculous BS. So most of it is misinformation and ignorance. Ignorance is angry. And if you're told something over and over, you're going to hate it. What is hatred? Hatred is the pathological descent into violence. If you sit around and think about something over and over, you're eventually going to lash out. And that's what's happening to these people.
Well, and Fox News promotes a lot of fear. Fox News is pushing a lot of the fear mongering of these people are going to take over.
I agree with Jenny. And going back to Purple's city idea, but all the Republicans build their own city, all live in it, throw Fox News in there as well. Have Trump build his wall around it and call it New Israel, so the whole world will point bombs at it.
They wouldn't last 15 minutes because they wouldn't let Mexican people in there. They wouldn't last 15 minutes.
Yeah, they'd never be able to go to a restaurant because there'd be nobody to work there. They wouldn't be able to have a gas station because there's nobody to work there. Their lawns would never get cut because there's nobody to cut them. Yeah,
Trump will become a king.
A long time ago, I read an article in National Geographic. Mississippi outlawed all immigrants. Okay, just in one season, food was rotting on the vine. All their cash crop died because no one who lived there knew how to farm. No one. They took pictures. National Geographic took pictures. They were like, "Boop, these people do not know how to farm their own land."
Will, you're in California. I'm surprised you didn't know about this, that, when Trump was president and they made all the fuss about the border wall and all the, the policies of ICE, sending all the immigrants out of the country. Yeah, they could not find enough people to work the fields. And in California, the California farmers overwhelmingly voted for Trump. And then 20 to 30% of the crops rotted in the field because they couldn't find people to pick them.
Oh, I actually know someone who owns an avocado farm, and she's Hispanic, and she voted for Trump, and that happened to her. So I'm not shocked at all. I'm not shocked at all.
There's a world boycotting avocados, isn't there?
Well, a lot. I buy a lot of the stuff I buy is grown 20 miles from my house.
But
I buy local. I buy all
yeah, a
local.
lot of the avocados are grown in South America, but it costs more to the environment to ship them around the world.
Yep.
I have
And
this conversation with.
It's just one of them. Is it a vegetable or a fruit? I would say it's a fruit, isn't it?
Well, technically, it's a fruit because it has internal seeds.
It's a healthy. It's so healthy for you. Avocados are so good for you.
Exactly. But for the benefit of growing it is so unenvironmentally friendly that it's sort of boycotted around the world, which is a shame, really, because I like avocado.
Well, where I live,
a U.S. attempt to try and get the drug cartels out of Mexico was promoting the growing of avocados. And all they did was create a new market that the cartels took over anyway.
The second you said that,
most of the avocados that come into the U.S. are grown in Mexico and are supporting the drug cartels.
There's a commercial that's on television. It's avocados that come from Mexico. The second you said that, I got the commercial stuck in my head because they have amazing advertising, and it is true. The cartels, they take over big business. In California, we single-handedly kicked the cartels out without one bullet by legalizing marijuana. When we legalized marijuana, we crushed the cartels because they were, it takes a lot for their weed to get here. Like now we can get any kind of pot on earth. So we don't need.
Well, you cut the bottom out of the market. It's,
exactly.
The profit's not worth the hassle anymore.
So, like a lot of Mexico's actually gone into turmoil because of states like California, and we're told because it's different because I have family that live there, but they tell people from California, man, like don't go down there unless you have business. But people still go down there for cheap plastic surgery, and unfortunately, people go down there for medication too. Because it's so sad in America, people would rather put their lives in a hand on a cruise, getting a bunch of medication, coming back, dealing with immigration and everything, because sometimes they won't let you through customs with your drugs.
What about abortions? Do they go down?
I live in California. I live in the future. Texas right now, it's 1875. I live in California. I live in the present.
I was just wondering because then back alley abortionists must be ripe at the moment, mustn't they? All these people with, you need to start is a bottle of gin and a coat hanger.
Oh well, in America, you just go to. Oh, sorry about the sneeze. You just go to the next state.
Yeah, the way the Republicans are going, they're going to bring it back though. Because they're getting it in so many of the southern states, and the people who can't afford to get to some place that they can have it done legally.
It's obviously a religious thing, isn't it?
Well, not necessarily, because in a place like Arizona is right next to California, and they have Texas-style laws, and it's like we're like in two different planets. So every state, and Arizona is like 60% Hispanic. So
I don't know incredibly religious.
Yes and no, because religions like Presbyterianism and Mormonism have evangelicalism, I can't say it, have come to Mexico, which is really strange.
All over the world now. There's a lot of Americanized Christian religions that come here years and years ago. Your witnesses and your Mormons and evangelicals, just to name but a few. They're all the door knockers.
Arizona are people who heard that the Hebrews spent 40 years wandering the desert and said, "Hold my beer."
It's Arizona's strange because I can cross the border and go buy an AR-15. You would go to prison if you tried that in California, or if I brought it back from Arizona into California.
Yeah, you're not even allowed to own one in California.
Oh, no way. No way. And so we live on different planets, but in Arizona, like, I used to live there. People walk around with guns on their hips, and it's like that in Nevada too, and Texas,
That was a joke that made me laugh on that American show, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, when Gina, who's the secretary, had a handgun, and they said, "Where did you get that gun?" She said, "A vending machine in the restroom."
You know, Mark.
It could be America. They just sell guns in a vending machine.
Yeah, what's Sarah saying here? Citibank will cover transportation, including hotel, for abortions. I am surprised to see any company who's taking that kind of stance.
That's crazy.
For their employees?
Yeah.
That's awesome. There's towns in Mexico that are dedicated to plastic surgery. Before I stop talking to my Trumper ex-girlfriend, and if you're watching, hi, because she probably hate watching because I blocked her on everything because I own an iPhone. But anyways, she was looking into going to one of those resort towns. But right now, like, the world's in a crazy place. I just wouldn't recommend traveling to, if you travel anywhere, just do your research, as someone who's actually traveled, has a passport right now, do your research. Because the world's in a bad place.
I could see if somebody went to Mexico for an abortion, they might remove some other parts while they're in there.
Well, yeah. They're doctors who got their education in America and they go back to Mexico because they make hand over fist. So they're gonna do the operation right. My ex-wife's brother just recently went to Colombia. He came back with a new mouth, and he's my age, and I'm so mad because he looks younger because he has all of his teeth. He came back with a shiny new mouth, and he, in America that'd be what, 200,000, 300,000. He paid like, the equivalent of $700, $800. Got professional care.
Where?
In Colombia.
Wow.
But he speaks the language. He loves brown women, so he probably fit in really well in Colombia. he knows he's a cool guy.
Well, I want to know which one of you are going to fund my excursion to Thailand so I can get FFS and breast augmentation.
Oh, we can go to Mexico right now and get you a full redo.
Not Mexico, Thailand. We're the experts.
Oh, whenever I think of Thailand.
I've actually talked to a couple of people who went and lived for a year or two in Thailand because living there for a year was cheaper than having the procedures done in the U.S.
Is it true that you can't spit on the ground there?
That's Indonesia.
Okay, because I am.
And a lot of it, Japan is like that as well.
Singapore is known for that sort of rigidity.
I used to chew tobacco, and I have a terrible habit of randomly spitting. It's something that's it's like a default in my brain. I don't even know why.
A habit, yeah.
Yeah, and so I've been and I chewed. I'm literally 26 years ago, and I still have that baseball mentality of spitting out chew.
Well, years ago I lived in Japan, and these laws were there, and the places are immaculate. And when COVID come, people were saying, "Well, Japan never got it. There were a few cases, and it was finished with," because people instinctively have always worn masks in them countries anyway. Always wear masks. They keep the place spotless. They wash their hands religiously. They don't spit. It's against the law to spit. You don't see. There's not one drop of gum on the floor.
Yeah.
They're very
in Japan,
they've dealt with these sort of illnesses, so they can basically just nip it in the bud as soon as it arises.
A primary tenet of Japanese culture is the concern for the other person and to be cooperative with your community and other people.
Absolutely,
it's so different from the United States. They actually care about each other.
Mark Short,
even in China, it started in China, but never took off like it did in other countries. Yeah, because they were always in the habit of wearing masks anyway. It wasn't any big deal to them when the government, started with advising people to wear a mask when they go out in public.
And that's another thing. That's why I look at Americans like, you silly Americans. When we had to start wearing masks, people were freaking out, and I'm like, you act like we're the first country on earth to ever have to wear a mask, Well,
you look at cities like New York and London, but back in the industrial age, where it was just smog.
Exactly.
It was just coal dust and things like that. And even, now you have a lot of catalytic converters now, but even 20 years ago, there wasn't. And that's why the emphysema route and things like
Well,
total through the roof in cities rather
what
than.
pissed me off, and I knew from the start this was going to happen, all these stupid people saying that, they can't wear something over their face because they can't breathe. Well, yeah, here in Minnesota, when the temperature got below 0, every one of them had a scarf over their face when they went out.
Exactly. I hate to laugh, but as somebody who literally can't breathe, like, you'll be fine. You'll be fine, you effing baby.
Yeah, I had a few arguments on Twitter with people saying I'm not wearing a mask. I mean, the Americans, of course. I said, well, you should. Oh, I have asthma. I said, well, wearing a mask will stop you getting attacks.
Well,
He said,
exactly.
no, how was that? You can't breathe. I said, because asthma is triggered by an outside force. It's triggered by an allergen or something in a perfume or something like that.
Yeah.
And a mask would save you from having attacks.
As a lifelong...
And he says, well, I have an attack when I put one on. I said, that's a fucking panic attack, you wimp. Get your mask on and shut the fuck up.
So I'm a lifelong asthmatic, and I don't think people realize how pollen kills me.
Oh, yeah.
Pollen, like, we have these trees that I avoid because we have pathways all throughout my town. It's so beautiful where you can take a long walk. It's just beautiful. But there are certain areas I avoid because of the trees, at least certain times of year, because they put me out. They make me feel like I'm dying, but really I'm just allergic to them.
But even your cheap mask would half that would half the threat in an instant just by putting a mask on.
Really quick, native atheist, quitting nicotine was I've done and walked away from every drug except for probably like meth and heroin. And nicotine was the hardest drug to ever quit, and chewing was so hard to let go that it stuck with me forever. And if I don't get mouth cancer, I'll be shocked.
Nicotine is considered the most addictive drug on the planet.
Yeah.
The chemical drop, the last time, because I was allergic to the patches, the chemical drop was unreal. And the fact that the people in my life still talk to me is a testament to the fact that they like me. Because I went over the cuckoo's nest when I quit smoking.
I tried giving up smoking years ago. I don't smoke now, but yeah, I tried the gum, cold turkey. I tried the patches. A friend of mine says, "Oh, you got to put a patch over each eye so you can't find your cigarette." I said, "Yeah, that's funny." But I was really struggling. The only thing that got me over it was I vaped. And vaping actually helped when that first came out because, I mean, it's harsh at first. The first time I took a puff on a vape, I coughed so hard, I sucked my underpants up my ass.
One of my roommates kept saying that quitting smoking was easy. He'd done it dozens of times.
Yeah.
See, that's
which is actually not a bad thing. It's in surveys and studies. It's very common for somebody who successfully has quit cigarettes that they actually attempted to quit anywhere between 8 and 12 times before they actually succeeded.
So,
yeah, my fiance was going on about her 10th time before she finally beat it.
I always tell this story. I started attempting to quit because I quit drinking alcohol when I was 21. So from the time I was probably 22, I attempted to quit smoking. I did not stop smoking until I was like 36 or 37 years old. So it's not easy. I quit for a year one time, for a year and a half. So that's about average.
I started smoking as a... Sorry, Pep, go on. I was just going to say I started smoking as a rebel when I was kicked out of Catholic school. I was 10. I think it's
my fiance finally quit because she could see the effect it was having on me because it was triggering my allergies every day.
When I was born with really bad asthma, I had troubles breathing as a kid. I have been sick my entire life. When I was like 13, for some stupid reason, I was smoking with my friends in front of my house. My mom walked up to me and she slammed that cigarette into my face. And part of me wishes I quit back then.
Well, even
'Cause I
now,
smoked forever. I smoked forever.
if I'm talking to a smoker, even especially a woman, I find her so unattractive because she just smells of smoke.
You know, dog,
It's strange.
I'm a sick mother effer. I love the smell of cigarettes and shampoo. I'm trashy.
Well,
I
It was
love
one
the
thing that was
Jesus
almost
had a foot fetish.
it was the one thing that was almost a deal breaker for going to live with my fiance was I didn't want to live with the smoker again.
I didn't realize how profuse and how disgusting smoking was until my recent time of quit. Like I quit 3 years ago. It's probably 4 years now, and my sense of smell came back. When I go to my storage unit, everything smells like pipe tobacco because I smoked Captain Black towards the end, and it's entrenched in everything.
Oh yeah.
And I
Yeah.
put on my work
Any
clothes.
clothes, any upholstered furniture, any kind of fabric, you'll never get the smell out.
Oh yeah. And it
Well,
reminds
what-
me of my dad, but it also reminds me that every male in my family who ever picked up nicotine died of either lung cancer or emphysema.
when my kids were born, when they were toddlers, they get into stuff and they draw on the walls and things. That's why we always have painted walls. And I said, don't worry, I've got still got some of that paint we painted that wall with in the shed. And when I tried painting the wall, it was just a totally different colour than the whole of the wall. The whole wall was yellow, and I thought you don't even notice it. So I had to paint the whole house again anyway. It's just that's why you'll find bars when they smoke, especially English pubs, they'd use a off-white, sort of yellowish type wallpaper, or because that's the original colour. That's the colour it'll go when people are smoking in the bars.
The time I noticed it most was when I borrowed my brother-in-law's car, and I actually was, feeling like, everything looked kind of hazy. And I washed all the windows as best I could and realized that's all on the inside.
Hi, Iris.
And I took my thumb and I smeared a strip off the windshield, and my whole thumb came away yellow.
That's like
imagine what that's doing to your lungs.
Yeah.
I have my TARDIS blue Ford F-150. When I bought it off a woman who is a retired Army Ranger. She's actually kind of a hero of mine because she's a badass. She still smokes 4 or 5 packs a day. When I turned on the air conditioner, all of a sudden I started smoking 4 or 5 packs a day again. I had to, and this is after I quit smoking. I didn't realize the damage that smoking does because I'd smoked from the time I was 12. I had effectively lost my sense of smell. If you really think about it, because I'd been smoking cigarettes or nicotine in general for so long. So as an adult, I have redeveloped my sense of smell. It's the strangest thing. I'm still weird about smells.
That's Mark is just, he makes a good point because it's not regulated.
Here in America,
it's regulated here in the UK.
Hey, Swede.
So they need to be.
Hey, Swede, come on in.
Yeah, I recently plugged your gas video for everybody that's been bitching about gas prices. I told them to watch your video, and I now use your video as a reference. I quote it to people.
They're only going to
he
get
did a video
higher
on
get more scarce.
What's really behind the gas prices?
Oh no, just the fact that like if you're bitching about gas prices, then you're probably not old enough to have lived through a few different eras. And I say this also, like, we all forget about George Bush. We all forget that gas prices were through the roof during the Bush era. Like, I don't,
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago. 2009, gas was over $4 a gallon. This is not the first time this has happened.
Yeah, not at all. Do you know when? And I know
and they blamed Obama too.
I remember when gas went to $1.50 and people were ready to go in the streets and riot. With inflation and everything, have you sent Sweet a link? With inflation and everything, like that's the same as it is now. And when I say $1.50, I mean 25, 26 years ago. You know, so there's no difference. You know,
Well, it's a dying resource. Don't forget, it's not going to last forever. I think the experts say it'll last 2050 at the most.
But it has more impact on people at certain price points. So when it tops another round dollar figure, then people panic.
I don't know how they're going to do it, but in the state of California, all gas cars are going to be outlawed by the year 2030.
2030 it's all got to be electric in the UK.
And now, by 2024, all gas-powered motors are going to be phased out. I own a bunch of leaf blowers, generators, all kinds of hillbilly gear. So it's going to be interesting. How's it going?
What they get out of oil, plastics and cleaning chemicals and fertilizers, they get all sorts out of crude oil.
How's it going?
My mechanical heart valve is made from petroleum products.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
They would outlaw you.
These things are more important than running a car. But then again, the damage that lithium mining is doing to the planet is ridiculous as well. It's basically like fracking.
So what is the process, though, for the lithium mine?
Lithium mines are strip mines, and the chemicals used to extract the lithium ore out, it basically renders that part of the strip mine uninhabitable.
And a lot of it's brine as well. They pump brine into it like they do when they frack, and to get every last bit of it out, and they just leave the crap they don't want and just take the lithium they want when it floats to the top. Because apparently,
at least with fracking, they put the water back underground.
So they're stripping all resources from a particular area, so nothing will ever grow again.
Well, it's not the stripping; it's the chemicals used to do the stripping.
Okay.
Like there's a copper mine in Montana that the old style strip copper mine process created a lake that if you fell in, you're dead in 2 minutes.
Yeepers.
Gold is similar to the nasty acids and stuff that they have to put gold through to extract it is quite deadly for the environment.
Oh, don't tell me that.
Unfortunately, electric cars are not really a solution for the environment because if you factor in the cost of producing and disposal of the batteries at the end of their life, they're probably worse for the environment than driving a gasoline
they
car.
are for now, because the problem with the environment is not the groundwater and stuff like that. It's whether or not we're going to be able to continue breathing and tolerate the temperatures, and that's pretty darn important to deal with right now. So I'm willing to sacrifice, the problems that we're going to have between technologies.
But even the carbon emissions, because while the cars are not producing carbon, the factories to produce the batteries produce so much carbon, it pretty much offsets any savings you get from the cars.
Yikes.
Right.
Your car has to be over 10 years old for you to make any progress environmentally on a trade-in for an electric vehicle. If your car is younger than 10 years, it actually costs more for you.
My car's 20 years old, so I'm making up for someone else.
My trucks would qualify for that. My Ford Flex would not.
Mine's 26.
Yeah. Also, I drive a cheap little hatchback. I drive the smallest possible car I can.
But for most people that drive, old cars that are semi-fuel efficient, such as like a Mazda or something along those lines, trading them in is a worthless process.
What about a treadmill car?
Oh, like Fred Flintstone?
Yeah, you run on the well. You pay a Mexican or someone to run on the treadmill. A living wage, of course. A living wage. I'm not a monster.
Have you ever? I'm going to skirt right past that. As a La Mitad Mexican person, have you ever gone on one of those bicycles, like on a lake or something?
The joke was for your benefit.
With the big
pedalo.
They're
called pedlos. Yeah.
Do you know how tiring that is?
Yep.
Extremely.
I have
Yeah.
PTSD from a time that a friend of mine, when we were kids, we got stranded in the middle of a lake because our legs gave out. Those things are effing awful.
Well,
So
it's basically once the resources run out, that's basically what we'll be going back to. There's no other choice.
Oh, Native Atheist has a perfect idea. I can make a rickshaw in 10 seconds. I'm total steampunk. I have the knowledge. What do you want? You want it to run off a cornfield? Like, just pick a gas we could make it run off of. I know all kinds of fun ways. I grew up riding bikes, so I can make a rickshaw real quick.
Yeah, I
Enough,
used to
right?
ride a bike a lot too, but I don't think, I don't have the stamina for it anymore.
I would, if someone asked me to run a mile right now, I would consider that torture. With my lung capacity.
The problem with nuclear reactors is that they take 10 to 15 years to even get the planning stage done.
Oh, wow.
And then another 10 to 15 years to actually get them constructed. And the average cost overrun is somewhere in the $8 to $12 billion over the expected cost. That's the average cost overrun.
Well,
That means they're always overrunning costs.
So that means everything they said in Stargate was real?
That everything costs more than it should?
No, everything you just said right now, there's an episode when they get stuck in this water world. And they were kind of saying like, oh, we left a nuclear reactor. And Carter was like, do you know how much time it takes to make one? And blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, the thing that we face with like green energy and stuff that's the problem, at least from an economic perspective, is what is the best to do now, but what should we wait for? Because honestly, solar panels 3 years ago are quite crap compared to what we can produce today.
Yeah.
So how long should we wait until we start implementing things on a mass scale?
Well, we're waiting for fusion at the moment, aren't we? That's an untried. I think that's years away before it's functional. I think
I have a
many
weird
decades
question
away.
though. Do you think it's because people care more about election cycles than saving our asses?
Absolutely.
So they care more about like with the whole mask mandate, like no one's dying any less here in LA, but people are acting like COVID doesn't exist anymore.
You need to watch a film on Netflix called Don't Look Up.
Yeah, Swede, you seem to have a lot more information on this than most people. What do you think of the vehicles running on natural gas? Like around here, most of the transit buttons.
Economically,
most of the transit buses are fueled natural gas.
Yeah, economically, the conversion is about $3,000, and at the current prices, you pay equivalent to about 79 cents per gallon.
What about propane? There's a guy.
It's all CNG is the same.
Oh, okay.
Is about the same economically. So compressed natural gas or propane or whatever. You would want to do CNG because there's already a lot of infrastructure for CNG.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you go to any lumber yard or anywhere with a forklift, most of those forklifts run off compressed natural gas.
Yeah. And
so you've already got a lot of infrastructure to actually fill tanks like that. Natural gas itself is, every green person's going to cringe when I say this, but it's a very clean fuel source.
That's what I was wondering as far as the emissions.
As far as compared to gasoline, it's way better. Now, as far as power plants, the power plants that are converting coal over to natural gas are cutting their emissions in the 90% range because natural gas is just that much cleaner.
Okay, are there any serious shortcomings to the natural gas?
It has less BTU than gasoline. Gasoline is one of the most efficient. I don't know if that's the word I want to use, but
energy.
Gasoline's got more power per ounce than anything else we know of.
Energy density is what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Thank you.
That for the size of the tank, you can get more on natural gas than you can of any other fuel.
It costs significantly more energy to put CNG in a tank. That means you have to actually compress the natural gas, keep it compressed, And then it's a little bit more dangerous because you have natural gas that's under high pressure. And
Yeah,
we
that's
don't
what I
have a
was
lot
wondering
of
about, was the whole processing, getting it from the ground into your fuel tank.
getting it from the ground to, say, a processing cracking station is about the same environmental cost as petroleum, any other petroleum product.
Interesting.
There's a lot more likelihood with some of the hydrogen fuel cells that they're continuing to research and improve to use water and hydrogen as your fuel for a car. It's byproduct of ignition is going to be just water and carbon dioxide, and no nitrous oxides and all this kind of stuff. And so you don't have to take the dangerous hydrogen with you. You're taking a processing unit that takes your water or whatever else you're using to get the hydrogen from, and it processes it, and that's what it feeds. That's what feeds your engine, and so it's much as dangerous that way.
Yeah, isn't there still a firing process in burning hydrogen? So there's still some negative side effects, I would have thought.
In what sense?
Carbon monoxide side effects.
Carbon monoxide?
Well, whatever the byproduct of spent hydrogen is.
No, because
the spent byproduct of a hydrogen fuel cell is water.
Yeah, all you get off it is water vapor.
Yeah. The other thing that everybody always freaks out about is how dull they think of the Hindenburg, and how dangerous hydrogen gas would be, driving around everywhere. I was talking with one of the engineers from BMW at a conference one year, and we were talking about these kinds of things, and the Hindenburg sure enough came up, and he explained it this way. He says, "Look, if you're in a car right now and you got like 25 gallons of gasoline with you. Okay, what happens to gasoline if it gets in an accident and the tank is punctured, and there is a spark that occurs? You get a gasoline fire. How does that fire behave? It falls to the ground from the gasoline and it spreads all over the place. Okay, now if you got a tank of hydrogen and you get in an accident and it gets perforated and it gets ignited, what happens to the fire? It goes up and dissipates and it's gone.
Yeah, actually, Iceland uses a lot of hydrogen vehicles because they can use the geothermal power to extract hydrogen from seawater. So it's very situational, but it's a very effective, clean source, for their island.
Yeah. What's we know for sure is that there's never going to be one answer. There's just not.
No, all of the answers are situational. So they'll work in some places, they won't work in other places.
Yeah.
Right now, I was just listening to somebody on PBS. They were talking about, or NPR. And they were talking about our power generation for our homes and stuff like this. And they said only 21% is now fired by coal and oil kind of hydrocarbons. The rest is broken up between solar and hydroelectric and wind and other things to generate it. And there's just not going to be one answer. We have to diversify and figure out how to use all of them.
Very much so. I mean, the problem is that people think that we can stop drilling for oil, which obviously my heart valve would beg to differ. And most medicines and plastics and everything else that we use that make modern medicine possible. So now, can we drill a lot less? Sure.
Yeah.
But
yeah, because if we
fracking, no.
If we stopped burning the fuel, we would have tons of oil left over for making plastics for the next 500 years, because it takes so much less of that than it does to make gasoline.
No,
a lot of
plastics
plastics are a byproduct of making gasoline.
Okay, so I mean, you got to figure out how it's separated though. So where do you put, after you refine it, where do you put the gasoline if nobody's using gasoline anymore? Because you're going to get gasoline as a byproduct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there are questions like this that we have yet to have. We have answers, but we have yet to have really good answers to.
Well, when all the laws come in California, you can give it to me because I'm going to move somewhere else.
Well, what I was going to say earlier, I think the thing with California is that they're projecting all this out now on the assumption that nobody's going to keep a gas engine that's 10 years old. That by 10 years it'll have broken down and it won't be worth repairing.
Yeah, but I have brand new like Honda EU generators. I have all kinds of stuff because I go camping. I no longer own Sea-Doos anymore because I refuse to own boats. But like, you know, I have all kinds of hillbilly gear.
Oh yeah,
and it requires gas. So it's gonna be interesting. Like, Glamis, you're gonna tell me that a place like Glamis, they're not gonna allow people to ride their dirt bikes there anymore? Glamis is world famous for people. They have competitions there for dirt bikes. Like, get out of here. Our dunes, people aren't going to be able to take their cars to the California dunes. Like, it's gonna be weird to see.
Well, I think we have to face the fact that there's going to be some methods of entertaining ourselves that are going to have to go by the wayside.
Oh, I'll get a rowboat. I'm not against it. I in no way, shape, or form. I'm just saying, like, 2024 is really soon, you know, and then my generators will be considered illegal, and I'm sure they'll come out with an alternative and they'll have a buyback program and everything, but it's always in their favor, you know. And as a capitalist, I'm saying it's going to be interesting to see.
There's going to be carve outs to wazoo.
Yeah.
And all you have to do is figure out how you can finagle yourself into the carve out.
Yeah, that how you can maneuver your company to be in one of the exceptions.
Well, the whole plan is going to be wind turbines and recycling centers anyway. Sure.
Well, wind turbines are a problem in and of themselves because of how much
Yep.
waste they produce.
We have
the blades of wind turbines are just fiberglass or a carbon fiber, so there's no way to recycle them, and they only have a life expectancy of about 5 to 7 years.
When you drive from Los Angeles to Las Vegas, when you get out in the middle of the desert, that is all you see are wind turbines. They are everywhere in the desert of California.
In northern Iowa, there's an entire 640-acre section of nothing but blades on the ground.
Oh, that's
because
great.
that's where they dispose of them.
Off our coast in east of England, the Norfolk coast, we have hundreds and hundreds of them in the sea.
Yeah, because you guys are windy.
It's beautiful. Like I won't even lie. Like, from far away, they're beautiful. You know, but they're waste. They're wasteful.
They're talking about putting some in the middle of Lake Michigan, and everybody in Wisconsin and Michigan gets all upset about it. It's like, dummy, you stand on the beach and look, and you won't see them because they're too far away.
Yeah,
they're over the curve.
I have a challenge for every Californian when people cry about oil and stuff. From I want to say the Channel Islands, going north, every 10 miles there's oil derricks. I'm sorry, there's oil rigs out in the ocean. You can see them anywhere in California, damn near going to Oregon. You know, they're drilling for oil up and down the coast of California. And they've been there as long as I can remember, and they're just a part of the scenery at this point.
California by itself is the 7th largest oil producing nation in the world.
Crazy. That makes sense, because there's even in my hometown, we pump oil in a canyon by the freeway. There's oil derricks everywhere.
It's either it currently is that way, or it could be if you know they turn the spigots all the way on.
I can totally see that, because it's not rare to see.
Yeah, Central California can produce a lot of oil.
What Hans is asking here, unfortunately, is a question that most Americans never ask. Do you really need to drive this much? And especially for most Americans, do you need to own an SUV? Couldn't you do fine with a smaller vehicle that was more efficient?
All right. So, as the fossil fuel burning American in this chat, who owns a tractor, yes, I could drive less. And like this weekend, I won't be going to Ventura because it's just there's no point in driving all the way to Ventura to buy a $12 sewing machine and spending $76 in gas. even me, I can't justify that. So yes, we can drive less. I recently I live within walking distance of a 99-cent store and a grocery store. I looked at my son, I was like, all right, bro, let's walk to the store. And he looked at me like, are you serious? Do we know how to get there without a car?
The major problem with the American landscape is what we call the strode. And if you'd never heard of the verbiage of what a strode is, it's the cross between a street and a road. And it's the 4-lane street that is nearly impossible for pedestrians to navigate. And it's also impossible for singular small businesses to operate on. You have these large strip malls or your big box stores that can operate on them. But they're an eyesore to the general world. And if you go to a place like the Netherlands or something like that, you have a very defined separation between streets and roads. And streets are very much not geared towards, I don't remember which one, streets or roads. They're not geared towards pedestrian traffic at all. And they're very high speed, but there's not a lot of turnoffs. And then the other side is you have your stereotypical like vision of what an old town European city looks like, where it's cobblestone roads and there's basically no cars, but everybody's milling around and shopping at the shops on the first floor, and there's apartments above those. That's what your destination is, and you can do all that there. And then also the people that live there hardly ever have to drive anywhere.
Well, that's one of the things that I've learned. I probably always knew in the back of my head, but that's really become prominent in my understanding of particularly Britain, because I've got to know a lot of people from UK. That they do so much more walking or bike riding or bus or train than we do. It's amazing how much more.
That's a size thing, though, Jenny.
It depends on what city you live in, because when I lived in Portland, Oregon, I had never seen so many human beings on bicycles in my life. So it
go to the Netherlands.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
You also pay 4 times the amount of fuel than you do.
And like in my neighborhood, it's kind of like what Swede was saying. Like I'm just the stereotypical Californian that gets in his big truck and drives, less than half a mile to the grocery store. But I live next to an elementary school, and it's off of a main road, but literally like not even half a mile are a grocery store, 99-cent store, a huge shopping center. It's all in the front of my neighborhood. So most people do walk there. So in my neighborhood, it's still kind of Mayberry where we walk around and wave to each other. I just don't do that. But recently I have been with the gas prices. And, as a person of privilege, I'm not trying to waste money. I'm going to be real. Like that's a real policy of mine. I don't just throw money around like a rapper. Yeah. So I'm actually really frugal in a lot of ways, actually.
The second the world political thing gets a little less uncertain, gas prices are going to fall like a rock.
Oh, they're already down. The gas is down 15 cents in this last week here.
So
it's still $5.28 here.
But that's probably down from what, $6.20 at one point.
But yes, and gas is always high here. We always pay $1.50.
That's because you have 89 cents of state and federal gas tax.
And just like where I live, there's 10 million people just in my area. So why would they not tax the hell out of all of us?
Well, I am hoping that from the COVID, a lot of companies will get the idea that maybe having people work from home is a good idea.
Our company said if you're a 3-year plus employee, you can file a request to work from home unless you're in one of a couple different areas that kind of is nice for people to at least come into the office once a week.
Mhm.
And then you have a secondary option where you can combo work 3 days from home, 2 days in the office.
Well, and if some of these companies figure out that, if they have more than half of their staff working from home, they don't need so much office space, that could be a real savings.
That's
It's
true, because in this day and age, most offices can be operated from home. Almost, as long as your desktop is linked to your company,
Yeah.
anyone
Well,
can work from home.
if all you're doing is trading paperwork with other employees and you don't have physical objects you have to transport around.
Well, I work from home at the moment.
I do too. I literally I bought the foreman at my job a laptop so he can walk me around. He was like, "Oh, William is so nice buying me a laptop," but really, I bought him a laptop so he could like walk me around. Modern. I'm a modern boss. I've got other
Delegating.
things. I've got other things to do. And yes, Sarah, I will have a video this weekend. I'm just gonna shop local. I found there's a thrift store across the street from the ranch, but I've never walked in there because antique shops are usually overpriced, and I made the mistake of walking in there, and that's when I bought my 103-year-old sewing machine last week. So I'm probably going to go back in there tomorrow and spend more money pointlessly, but it's by my job, so it's in my town.
The best pricing I find for stuff is consistently on Craigslist. There's this one bread maker that I've had my heart set on for years, and people and the word got around that it's considered to be one of the best bread makers ever made, and people on eBay have been asking $200 for a 5-year-old unit when it originally cost maybe $225. Okay, everybody is just raping for prices, and they're selling them. People are buying them, and then the shipping is $50 to $75 because of the weight.
Do you know what kind of bread maker it is? Because I have a bread maker I never use. I have to go look now.
Rushji.
My mom buys me all.
Something like
My
that.
mom buys me stuff for
Anyways,
Christmas, and
I found one on Craigslist for $50.
oh wow.
Drive 10 miles, pick it up, take it home.
To be fair, eBay is one of the few places that the free market still lives, that stuff can still be sold for whatever people are willing to pay for it.
I sell on eBay, Amazon, Facebook, and eBay's awesome. I actually recently sold a sewing machine and people trip out. Because they trip out on me, because I wear patches and stuff, and I tell them, meet me at my local sheriff's station. And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, my local sheriff station has a drop-off spot for people who sell online. And now they got defunded, but they built this $1 million complex on the crummy side of town, and now they have this huge area for buying and selling. And if you rob someone at a police station, you deserve to go to jail.
Okay, well, question for you here.
So, Skitscrasher, no. I would say, I did a review on the Singer M100, and it's well made, but you'd be better off going to Walmart and getting yourself like $100 sewing machine. The smaller sewing machines are I actually made a video about that. I don't know how they can sell them for $50 and get away with it. I took one apart and it's all it's like plastic. They break easy, so no. Do yourself a favor and buy like a full body sewing machine, or do what I do: go to a thrift store and get yourself, an older sewing machine, and I can teach you how to get it going within 5 minutes. But I'm a thrift store kind of guy. I'm a Fred Sanford recycle reuse kind of person.
What is a thrift store? Is it like a charity shop?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Right, I thought so.
Exact same thing. I actually tag charity shop in all my videos and everything I put online too.
Except try not to buy from Salvation Army because they are just horrendously rabid anti-gay people.
And the Goodwill
Yeah,
pays
Goodwill
special need.
also.
They pay special need adults half of what
Yeah.
the quote unquote normal person is.
Salvation Army and Goodwill both take horrible advantage of their employees.
I'm gonna go find out what the
Chick-fil-A.
there's a technical term for it in the state of California because we have laws for everything. Because I live in the land of lawyers, but there's a law where the Goodwill can technically get away with paying someone with special needs half of someone who doesn't have special needs.
Because they the legal jargon around it is because they require special considerations, and those considerations cost money.
That's bull.
Yeah, don't they run prisons under the same set of laws?
That's bull.
There's that. Well, that and they charge them room and board.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
I'm not saying what they're doing is correct. I'm just giving you context. Just want to make that clear.
There's people that from my job that work at the Goodwill, and I asked a stupid question one day of how much do you guys get paid? And they're like, oh, we get paid $6.75. And I was like, you get paid what? I'm getting ready to go to their corporate office. And then I found out that no, there's a law where you can pay special needs adults half. I just think it's dumb. If someone works a job, pay them what they, pay them for their time, like you would anyone else, I have a contractor's license. Like, let me tell you, I'm like a lawyer. It's $75 just to talk to me on the phone. I'm kidding, but I have lawyer prices.
Now, the only thing I use Goodwill for is to do the Dell electronic recycling program. They get no money from that, and they can't sell them. All they do is transport them to the Dell facility for recycling.
Oh. I didn't even know about that. I've kind of wondered about how to recycle some old stuff I've got lying around.
Any electronics they will take. You can also go to a Best Buy or a Salvation Army, and it actually costs those charities money to do the program.
Oh, wow.
So you can stick it to them.
I'm their dream. I have old equipment.
But you have to tell them you're designating it for recycling. Otherwise, they'll try and just put it on the shelves.
I'm going to write that one
down.
Well,
we've been going 3 hours. I think I need to wrap up here and get some rest. So, who has some last words?
I have some really quick words. How funny is constantly doing Google on your phone because I'm always on YouTube. I opened up my screen and Kevin Sorbo's on my screen. Yikes. He looks terrible. I know, but you told me to look up his picture. He looks terrible now. Too much sunshine, bro. Too much sunshine. Sorry.
And too many years.
Oh. No, I know. Brains. I know some men who have aged beautifully, and they do have that Hulk Hogan tan, but they have aged beautifully. Kevin Sorbo has a Hulk Hogan tan and looks awful.
He'd do well to get his hair cut.
He looks. Oh, and really quick before we end, Ricky Schroeder, you're trash and you look awful. Sorry, I had to get that out there. Look him up.
If anybody wants to watch the video about gas prices in context with what things are going, what things are going on around the world today, and what things went on in the past, there's the link.
I watched it. It was awesome.
Yeah, it's a really good video.
I actually put effort into like infographics and stuff on it. So.
Effort? What's that?
You did a real nice job of it, of condensing the information into something that's easy for people to understand.
And I put a time limit on it of 10 minutes because I knew people were generally glaze over about 10 minutes after something starts.
Yeah, I found that, that any video you might get away with 15 minutes max. Okay, Will, you got anything coming up?
Godless sewing. Tomorrow I'll be going to Rooster's Relics and getting another sewing machine, and I'll make a video and act crazy about it. Godless Sewing, go subscribe. It's all about fun and yeah, love yourself, wear a mask, and all those other cliche things we do.
Okay, Dog, you got anything?
No, not this time, mate.
Okay, Jenny?
Thanks for having me on, though.
Oh wait,
No,
I can't post
no.
links on your
I
YouTube.
just need some fresh batteries for my vibrator, and I'm fine.
Oh, if we lived close, I hoard batteries. If we lived close, you'd love me. I'd give you a ton. I hoard batteries.
Swede, do you not have moderation here?
Nope, I do not.
Okay, type something in the YouTube chat, and I'll make you a moderator so you can post your link.
I hoard so many batteries. I have to go check the expiration dates on them because batteries do go bad.
Oh yeah, they do lose power if they've been sitting for a couple of years.
I was raised by a Vietnam vet, so I'm paranoid about earthquakes and everything. So I'm earthquake ready. So I have batteries, water.
Okay,
Fire
there you go, Swede.
extinguisher 10 yards away.
I have one in every room. Well, that's because I've owned a few businesses, and like I take my fire extinguishers with me. I was mad at a building inspector one time, and so I may or may not have 15 fire extinguishers in my house.
Well, I'm going to skedaddle then, since we're signing off here.
Okay, yep.
Bye, Jen.
Bye.
Swede, good being on with you. I enjoy your
Thanks everybody for
company. You're so
coming.
smart.
I need to thank my Patreon supporters again, and thank you for the money for getting me the new headset. Jyuni the Apostate, Ox, Robert X, Lavender Lady, Greg Hartwick, and Dog. I really appreciate the help. And special thanks to Skits, who sent me some fun things off my Amazon wish list. Skits Cat in the side chat, or Skits Crash rather, in the side chat. Sorry, I said Skits Cat because of the icon. But yeah, he's got some rechargeable fish for my cats to play with. They flap their tail and flop around on the floor, so the cats go a little, what's that? So with that, thank you all for coming, and good night.
Good night, chat.